So it might not yet be spooky season, but I figured let's get the jump on it and start early. Setting myself for an adventure with my greatest dream and my biggest nightmares. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. What the hell? I don't like that at all. Why are you right there? This is a world of magic, demons, and shadows lurking in the night, where the mobs get stronger every single day. That's spooky. I don't like it. But don't worry, there's magic here, and I'm gonna need to use all of it if I want to defeat this world and survive. You're on a phantom? What are those even from? But let's get started in this magical nightmare. Day 1. All right, a brand new adventure. Let's get started. That's a big tree. That's another big tree. But I can't let the big trees distract me. I have a lot of Minecrafting to do. I chopped down a much smaller tree, making myself a few basic wooden tools, heading across the river and finding a brand new type of birch tree, this one being a little bit more magical. Fantasy birch. That's interesting. Oh, that's pretty. I continued into the nearby woods, saying hi to the local wildlife. I'm sorry, sheep. Sorry, cow. Crafting myself up a bed because the night is dark and full of terrors, and I don't want to have to deal with any of that. There's a tree with a bunch of cobwebs, which I'll grab in just a minute, heading over towards some ruined stone bricks that turned out to only be about a block deep into the ground, unfortunately. But I mined up one of many different variations of stone, and the magical themes are kicking off right away. Oh, I can make a oh. I mean, look at it, it's so much better. Look at this. Trash. Oh no, there's gonna be... Oh. Now that I had a sword in my pocket, I was able to break down all of those spider webs for a whole bunch of string, grabbing a bunch of different mushrooms and flowers because I never know what could be a component in a spell or a potion or a witch's brew or something else I'm gonna make. There was a giant temple off in the distance, which looked somewhat ominous, and if I remember right, feels like it's going to include some very deadly monsters inside. So I marked it and then saw some very deadly monsters very outside. That looks terrifying. Let's not go that way. I slept on a nearby little tiny island, going into day 2, where I continued introducing myself to the local wildlife around spawn, heading to the northern coast of the island, seeing that it's very frozen just across this little stint of ocean. I grabbed a few seashells that someone sold me down by the seashore, heading back through the woods, making my way back to spawn and finding a whole bunch of hay bales sitting in a sunflower field, which is going to be useful. I'm going to need that for food. There's also a wishing well right by spawn with unfortunately nothing buried deep underneath, and some very dark woods in the distance with mobs waiting for me inside. It's like workout zombies. What? Okay. I still don't know if they're passive or not. And names have stopped popping up, which is weird. I collected a little bit more wood for myself, making a bit of a base camp as my inventory was full of all sorts of different types of flowers and plants, throwing everything into a quick double chest and checking what one of the nearby caves could do as far as allowing me to head underground. Made myself a furnace and started smelting up some logs from charcoal, crafting a bunch of those hay bales into bread, and then investigated the Iron's guidebook to see what I can do to learn magic and truly become a wizard. Early game. Okay, so I still really need to get paper. With a few torches in hand, I lit up the area around the bed that I had placed down and slept as quickly as I could going into day 3. I really need to get to paper. Can I make this into sticks? I can. Perfect. With no sugarcane in sight, I made myself a cutting board, which, combining logs with an axe, allowed me to strip the logs for bark, crafting that into paper, which I could combine with some of the leather from some of the cows I introduced myself to make a book. With a few fences and slabs allowed me to make an inscription table, and now let me introduce you to the main gimmick of this entire run. Oh my goodness, what do I even do with this? Sneak to view, view entry. Okay. So I need to make a spell book, unscrubbed spell, spells can crafted with basic materials. Okay. Okay. This is doable. I need arcane dust, which means I need to find a structure. There's one. I don't know what it is. There's one. There, gold. 2, 4 iron. 6, 12. I need 4 iron and a gold. Really. But before I can really get into the magic, the main problem I have right now is storage. I can go ahead and make myself a backpack, but that requires a bunch of materials. So I headed down into the caves, mining my way down before making it into a small cave area, seeing far more ores than I'm used to floating around here. I dealt with a small child zombie, picking up a whole bunch of copper, keeping my eyes laser focused on that dark part of the cave that nothing was gonna come out and jump me. Once I blocked myself into a corner, I figured out, oh yeah, I can just make copper armor. So I grabbed a whole bunch more of that, as it would provide me some early game defense that was just slightly worse than iron. I picked up a few other ores in the area before I started hearing something dangerous coming my way. I don't know what that is. Let me tell you right now, that little fast creeper chicken thing, that is not the only kind of new creeper in this pack, and they are all extremely terrifying. It's like a baby creeper? I'm not coming back until I have armor. That feels dangerous. But I made my way back up to the surface, making a few furnaces, and started smelting up all of the copper that I could use it for both the backpack as well as an armor set. Using charcoal to power a lot of what I needed to do and getting ready for the evening. I hate everything about that. Oh God, what, why, no. But you know what I don't hate? My patrons. Because, well, they're pretty awesome. I don't know if you know this, but we've been doing a lot lately. From launching new things on leg.gg, including Extraction and other games coming really, really soon, a new Minecraft event in the works, some new merch that we've all launched, and all of that is powered by you. My patrons are the lifeblood of my community. They already know what the next 100 days is. They already know what the next 100 days is after that. And if you like series like UHCG and other things I'm working on, they find out what's happening first. So if you want to join them, support the channel, help support the team as we make awesome things, patreon.com/Legundo. Go check it out and go tell me that I sent you. But with that out of the way, the following morning, I finished smelting up all of the different metals, crafting myself a full set of copper armor, and it's just slightly off theme. Might not look very wizard-like, we'll get to that, but at least I'm gonna survive. I made myself a few backup stone tools so I could continue down into the caves because it started pouring right away, heading back down and really being careful that there were no creepers waiting for me. Thankfully, the start of the cave was safe so I could go around and explore all of the different ores that were around, including the tin, which I could pick up out of the ground, throwing down torches everywhere I could to secure different branches of the cave, mining up iron, and starting to venture a little bit deeper. And it's worth noting, this mod pack makes mobs a lot harder to deal with. With each passing day, they're gonna get stronger and stronger. And even only a few days in, they have giant spiky shields, which is protecting them from a good portion of the damage that I'm doing. So I have to move fast if I want to prepare. I started picking up any ore I could possibly find in the caves, those I recognized and those I didn't. I didn't know what would be useful, so I'm just working my way through everything. Picking up a little bit of moss, which exposed a sunken cavern behind it, which with a few doors, I'm able to head my way in and continue mining through all of the different ores that I have here. I started smelting up all of the iron that I was collecting so I could make myself an iron pickaxe and start mining different things, picking all of that up, getting a few other iron tools, and actually digging my way into a small pocket of gold, which would be extremely useful as I needed it to work towards a backpack. I kept swimming through the caves, picking up any other gold I could find, occasionally napping partially underwater as well, heading down and picking up my first few pieces of lapis, and then seeing a few other pieces of moss that allow me down into another lush cave, which was a little bit more breathable. But I was only there for a few seconds. Nope. There's just a pillager spawner down here. Okay. Avoiding the pillagers for right now, because I don't want to deal with any damage, I threw down a door, seeing the ocean above me, and realizing it's not safe out here either. I don't know what that is, I don't know what that is, I don't know what that is. That's scary. I'm going back underwater. So I swam back down into the cave, and then I realized it's not safe in here either. That's a giant anglerfish. Oh my god. Underwater is filled with horrors. We have to leave. So I headed my way back into the cave proper, and guess what? It's not safe in here either. What is that? So I just dug my way straight up, back up to one of the earlier caves, making my way to the staircase, blocking it off behind me, and just leaving. I started smelting up all of the gold, breaking a whole bunch of sand for glass, and having the world throw me a bone. No shot, I just found a buried treasure. I mean, sure, I'll take it. An iron sword, a heart of the sea, some food. Burning dash scroll. Level 2 damage. When casts a spellbook, 22 mana, 10-second cooldown. Yo. Okay. Oh, that's just too perfect. Okay, so I need paper. So I need 6 paper. I don't have sugarcane, so I need a whole bunch of logs. I chopped down a few more trees, stripping them for their bark for paper so I could craft up a book, a whole bunch of glass from all of the furnaces, sleeping so I could stay alive. And the following morning, it's time to become a wizard. Flimsy journal, and while we're at it, I crafted up a sleeping bag, which was the final component for the traveler's backpack, which I immediately thought, at least thought, that I was upgrading to iron, which didn't actually give me any additional inventory space, but it does give me +2 armor, so you know what, that's not a bad idea. And with storage in a spellbook, it's time to get started. I don't even know what that means. All right, so spellbook. A burning dash scroll. That's our first spell. Okay, so now we can... Wait, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I don't know what I did. Oh, I'm like equipping it somehow. Hold on. Oh, whoops. Now I need to learn. With my first spell to my name items out of all of the ores and a little bit more. That scares. I jumped in a boat, island over me, and the next itself. I made my way through the woods, saying hi to the cows, finding a little bit of a wheat field nearby, having a lot of potential food and a few iron ingots in the chest out front, seeing a potential tower in the distance, but I'll visit that in the morning. And wouldn't you know it, the morning comes right now. Those all look very deadly. Oh, that's so cool. Like a little mining camp? Or a mine? Definitely a mine. Book is good. Actually. That's a lot of gold. So the mine shaft was actually really great. There was a lot of iron piled up immediately out front of it and a lot of coal, which you could use to smelt all of that down. Plus there's actual refined materials inside the chests inside of the space, but probably the best thing from the whole thing was all of the gold blocks that were mainly used as decoration for the top of the space. Having 8 gold blocks this early in the game? Yes, please. 8 blocks worth of gold. That's over a stack. Oh, well, hello. Oh my God, what is that? I'm running. Ow! That hurts. It sees me. It sees me and it's following me. And it's summoning friends. Oh my. That was extremely scary. I need... What is that thing? It's coming for me too. Cast my spell and get away. Oh, this world's a little scary one, isn't it? Oh no. Okay. I need to get way better prepared because that was a skeleton wizard of some kind. And that's scary. Can I, like... dodge that whole thing? That's wild. Alright, we need to figure out where we're going next, because that was bad. So I just kind of took a minute collecting my thoughts at the spawn of the world, going through all of the different upgrades that I could potentially unlock, seeing what would be useful for my armor and what would be useful for my backpack. But it is kind of funny that I'm looking at all of these crazy upgrades for the future when I hadn't even realized the sword that I had pulled out of that treasure chest. Yeah, it was a magic one. Wait, oh, this sword has other stuff on. I didn't even realize that. Oh, this has like life leech and... Oh, this sword is cool. Yeah, that sword is just the first of a lot of different items with all sorts of custom affixes, custom extra attributes, and sockets where you can put gems into to rapidly and radically change your armor set. It is very, very cool. We will get pretty deep into it for a change. But I ran around on the island that I'm at because I need more leather if I want to do that backpack upgrade and have any additional storage. I worked my way around most of the island with the exception of the dark forest area on the southern coast, just looking around and seeing nothing except a ton of zombies inside that dark forest, or at least nothing that gave me leather. There were things like sunken ships in the distance, which seemed potentially viable. I swam over to a nearby island, made myself an axe, chopped down a tree, made myself a boat, and sailed over towards that temple, but I was being pursued. Oh, this is not good. Oh no! What are those even from? I don't know. I know they did spooky sounds when they chased me. I don't like it. That's not good. And there's nothing on here. It's just a tiny little island. But thankfully, it was a tiny little island that also happened to have a shipwreck inside one of the sandbars on the opposite coast. So I made my way over, crafted up an iron shovel, and started digging into the wreck, being very careful to not expose myself to open ocean, as those dinosaur sea monster things would potentially come and eat me. And it turns out hitting up that shipwreck was a good idea. Yo, intelligent iron chestplate of gravity. And a first diamond of the world too. So wait, if I put this on, my mana goes up. That's really good. Let's drop off some of the planks, stairs and slabs. We'll take the XP bottle because you never know if we'll need it. We really need to get leather to upgrade this backpack. So minus 20% gravity. Does that mean we jump higher? Oh no. The thing is, I think I left my bed elsewhere, so we can't sleep. I made my way back up to the surface just in time to be accosted by a whole bunch of different mobs, really having to rely on my sword here and the life leech that it granted me to deal with all of that, and then the bees. A wasp thorax. Okay. Okay. But I wasn't ready for what was about to spawn next. That's a big problem. I booked it, just immediately running from the boss, sailing over the ocean, hearing those creepy kind of calling sounds as two of those sea monsters were chasing me from underneath the waves. I landed on a coastline filled with mobs on just another large island, immediately pillaring up and trying to hide myself in one of the trees. We're just gonna stay here for the night. Oh God. We're in such trouble. You're on a phantom? There's phantom riding zombies? Oh my God. Once it was safe the following morning, I slowly climbed my way down from the tree, pulled out the treasure map, and started heading off in that direction, hoping to be able to find some loot. I found a stone brick ruin that I thought maybe there's some chests inside, but in digging through and around it, it turned out it was completely solid, kind of similar to the wall on day one. Then, off in the distance, I thought I saw a village, but it turned out it was a single abandoned house with just a little bit of crops around it and mermaids in the distance. So I had to be very careful not getting too close there and being lulled out to my death on the water. Why is it that the entire ocean is just angry this 100 days? But I kept following along on the treasure map, trying to get myself back and closer over land so I wouldn't be eaten, finding a tower in the distance, dodging between two islands, and first checking out this giant prismarine structure hanging over the ledge. On second thought, maybe not. I marked the location so I could come back here later and check it out, heading over towards the tower, but being stopped by one of the zombies with a giant screen door for a shield. That took a little while to get them dead. The shield takes out a whole lot of my damage. Heading over towards the tower itself, finding some food and weaponry, and some that was kind of both at the same time. But this tower is filled with a bunch of mobs and a bunch of spawners. Thankfully, I have torches in the offhand, so I can work my way up, breaking and stopping all of the spawners from, well, spawning, getting my very first gem. Cracked blood gem. I don't even know where to start with that. This is nice. This is very nice. Well, I mean, we are a wizard. It's not the best of towers, but it's something, at least for right now. Maybe. If nothing else, it can serve as a depot. So, the nights are pretty scary here, and I haven't built a base yet, so I blocked up the doors of this thinking that I'll use this, if nothing else, as a temporary respite while I search out other places to potentially call home. So I organized all the barrels, dropped everything into just a few, condensed my inventory, and took a quick nap. The following morning, I set all of the iron that I had to smelt, organized all of the gems, the food, the weapons into individual chests, and headed up to the upper floors to break down all of the barrels and containers, bringing everything down to the ground level. And it turns out some of this armor was enchanted, but in a kind of a different way. Ooh, that's pretty good. But I went out hunting for leather. I need a little bit more just to do some further upgrades for my backpack. So I went out exploring, seeing a few other POI out into the frozen area of the terrain. But other than that, the island was pretty empty. No animals on here that I could turn into leather, so I started heading off into the frozen area, looting the dragon skeleton that was just sitting there on the ice, and oh, that should have been a bad omen. Heading north towards the structures and the dangers inside. Chipped holy gem. Flawed gem of the warlord. Okay. A lunar gem. A cracked frozen gem. Oh, hello. Summon damage. Experienced iron. Plus 26 experience. Yo, hold on. Is there anything else underneath these carpets? That's really good. The only thing is, I'm not sure looting that tower was actually a really good idea, because on the way back to my tower, I was told something powerful is invading this world. I don't like that. So I ran and flame dashed my way back towards the tower as quickly as I possibly could, dodging a few wasps and heading into sleep right away. The following morning, I did a little bit more inventory organizing, dropping off all the loot that I had collected from the tower in the frozen area, and I'm just gonna warn you right now, inventory management is difficult for this entire 100 days. There is so much loot to cover. But I dropped things off, heading back towards the previous island I was on, trying to see if there were any animals I had missed over there that I could get some leather. I saw a few things, like a pile of pumpkins with a chest with a few emeralds on it, and those emeralds were about to come in very, very handy. Wandering trader, you're gonna give me leather. Just give me a second. A bow is a bow. I'll take it. Hello. A root scroll. Oh, we're gonna buy that. Come here. That's useful. And then I'm very sorry. I need your llamas. With a brand new spell available to me, a few pieces of leather, and a lead that just came out of nowhere. It's so weird. I fought off a few more mobs in the area, just looking to see if there might just possibly be a second lead before dashing back over towards the island I was on previously, trying to take the bone and make myself a friend. Wolf. Nope. Do I have more? I don't. I'm sorry, Wolf. We can't be friends. Heading back over into the frozen area, finding a graveyard. And you know me, I'm not gonna let the fact that there might be some angry souls in here stop me from potentially getting some loot. I did end up having to draw steel and eliminate the ghost, and oh my god, this is D&D all over again. Heading back over towards the tower and locking myself in, having a quick nap, and then putting down the inscription table the following day, setting up that root spell in my spellbook, so I didn't get to test the spell right away. I instead figured on, let's focus on martial classes for a little bit, making myself a bow, repairing the one that I had collected, and digging a little bit deeper into the magic mod and seeing what I needed to find. It turns out arcane essence is the main thing that I really need to start progressing in the mod pack. And a lot of the wikis and documents said, go find it in structures around the world, especially those that are tied with the magic mod. There's a lot of different mobs that'll drop arcane essence as well, and I can use that to craft better spells and spell books and scrolls. But that, combined with all the gems I had collected, is the main thing that I need to kind of take away from the north right now. This area looks pretty barren in a way that isn't really helpful, so we're just gonna have to make do with collecting a whole bunch of treasure and heading south, trying to find additional sources of magic in that direction. And, well, I found additional sources of something. There's cows right here. Just as I'm about to give up, there's literally cows right here. God dang it. So with the leather I needed, I headed down to pick up some stone to make a furnace to smelt up some sand so I could work on the backpack upgrades. And unfortunately, one furnace was not working fast enough and it started getting a little later in the night. Oh, it's getting dark. Oh, I should have brought the bed. Rushing to get everything done, I quickly made the upgrade templates, which I can use to then make an iron upgrade, which should allow me to increase the storage space of the backpack. The only problem was it wasn't really applying. I made a smithing table, I put everything in, I thought I had done it right, but no, nothing was working. And just as I broke everything down, I got attacked. What was that? I think I just lost my birch thing. Oh my god. I don't even want to know what that is. Not wanting to deal with any of my problems, I pulled my best Leonora impression and just sailed away in a rowboat, leaving it for somebody else to deal with. Heading on a new coastline, finding a whole bunch of mobs to greet me. There was no way I was going to be able to get back towards where I had set up camp, So I'm just gonna have to make it work here, standing next to a palm tree on the very north of the island I started on. I found a bit of a defensible area and I just started swinging, fighting a whole ton of mobs. I did have like a random direwolf something come try to attack me, and in killing it, it dropped an enchanted pickaxe of some kind, dealing with an enderman who was aggressive for no good reason. As I was dispatching everything, I was checking the loot, finding out that I was getting a little bit more of those kind of modifier imbued pieces of armor, dealing with a bone summoner from the Born in Chaos mod who did a heck of a lot of damage with their magic missiles, but my burning dash seemed to overcome them. Then I started hearing boss music, killing more zombies with explosions in the distance, fighting a few more of the really big, scary wolves who dropped monster flesh, which could be crafted down into a lot of leather. I even had Drowned coming up out of the water, swimming half an ocean away, trying to take me out, and had to fight literally until the sun came up the following morning, dashing along the land and starting to run my way back along the coastline. I ended up heading into what I now know is a dark forest, an area that's even deeper and darker than the roofed forests that you have in vanilla Minecraft, with all sorts of spooky sounds and an increased mob spawning rate, and like vindicators and things just spawning out in the open with no real reason for them to be there. That was pretty scary. So instead of trying to take it on over land, I bridged my way up and pillared up onto the treetops, where I still get all of the spooky ambiance and all of the sounds, but none of the mobs being able to kill me up here. I climbed on some water, landing back right at spawn, having spent 13 days in the world, what a lucky number, and really just returning back to a campsite with a whole bunch of jewels in my pocket, and finally the things I need to upgrade my gear.
That's awesome. Oh, I can do the gold upgrade. That's awesome.
With a little bit more storage space, now I can deal with the immense amount of items this mod pack is throwing at me, taking a look at the giant tree across the ocean and thinking, you know what would be a really cool base? A really big treehouse over on this side. There were a few mobs to deal with, and I finally got to use that root spell, which locks an enemy in place. Really good if you're also dropping a big AoE spell on top of them. Not as useful when you have something that can shoot at you from wherever they happen to be standing still. And if you're wondering why even just like a vanilla skeleton is taking quite a few hits, or this creeper is taking 4 or 5 crits to take down, don't worry, the necromancer that I'm actually slinging spells against is even more dangerous. I kept trying to root them in place, then use the burning dash to do damage over time while also critting them, but between the fangs, the ice bolts, and the minions they were summoning, this was a bit of a problematic fight. I had to dodge away a few times when I was under half health, taking the time to recover, but unfortunately the necromancer also recovered during that time, so it was a bit of a wash, dealing with all of the summoned minions who happen to ride guardians so they could swim even faster in the water, dealing with a final few mobs, and then taking a quick nap on the beach with a sea monster staring at me.
Oh, and there's sea monsters just right there. Sure, chill. That's fine.
Having the necromancer just kind of leave, I never killed them. They just kind of despawned. So I headed north, deeper into the woods, finding a bit of a sunflower field with a few structures off in the distance. I headed towards the first one, which was just outside of the dark forest, so it wasn't surrounded by darkness, but it did have mobs constantly spewing out of those woods, causing me a whole bunch of problems. And problems like exploding into a bunch of angry flies that would attack me after I killed the main zombie. But the structure had a bunch of spawners in it, first of which I was able to pretty quickly break down, heading towards the door and failing to properly secure it.
Holy, that's a lot of skellies. I need to come back with a bow. I need to be able to fight at range.
So giving up on that idea of let's take on that building right now, I headed back over towards the giant tree, mining my way into the side of the wall and having to go 4, 5, 6 hits on a single zombie just to take them out. But what I need more than anything right now is shelter, safety. So I dug into the trunk of the tree, getting a whole lot of this fantasy birchwood, which is really awesome because it looks really nice, building myself out a floor and a porch on the front of the structure, just having a place that I can finally put down a lot of loot in chests, put down my bed, a crafting table, and say, I am safe here, I can rest. I put down a bunch of ladders, starting to think I'm gonna work my way up the tree and build all sorts of different little platforms in the tree itself as my main base. But I took a quick rest, and the following morning, while finishing organizing all of my inventory, I realized I needed to do a little bit of work on my gear. I made an anvil so I could start repairing my stuff, making myself a shield and a spare sword and some extra iron tools, which I could then use with the anvil to combine with the affixed sword to be able to retain all of those special properties and repair it back up to full health. And while I might not have had a bow, I found I had a shield, so I could finally fight at range, or at least defend myself from range, relying on my spells to do a lot of my offensive damage. I headed across the sunflower field, and instead of heading directly towards the skeleton area, I looped around on the left, just picking up sugarcane, seeing another structure also nestled into the dark forest here. This one led down, and throwing down torches thinking that this is going to be a big combat challenge. It turns out this Pyromancer is actually friendly. So I just threw down some torches everywhere, spawn-proofing a little bit of the structure so I wouldn't get jumped, checking out the barrels around here to see what I could find. There's a whole bunch of arcane essence, there's a lot of gems, rune stones, and arcane ink, which will be useful in spell crafting a little bit later. There were also more spells I could use, a flaming strike scroll that I can imbue my sword with fire, a ring that would make it so that I could cast things even faster, and some pants which gave me maximum hearts. I have over 10 hearts in 100 days. I always love it when that happens. The sword I found was probably the best thing. Speed for me, weakness for whoever I hit, and a whole bunch more crit chance. That'll do. But my inventory was already filling up pretty quickly, so I prioritized only picking up the things that I could use, immediately throwing that flaming strike scroll into my spellbook. But when I headed over to trade with the Pyromancer, they were angry now. Whoa. I don't think they liked me going through their stuff.
Are they angry? Oh my God. Oh my God. That was so much. Wall of fire? Heck yeah. With a pretty tense battle against the Pyromancer going my way, I went through the remainder of the chests since I don't think they're gonna mind anymore. Picking up a whole bunch more arcane essence, a lot more arcane ink, and finding a few secrets around here. There was a chipped brawler's gem that would give me some really solid benefits no matter where I put it, as well as an affixed iron chest plate, which says it's of stubbornness. You know what, I'll take that too. But this place was nice.
space. There's a lot of storage, there's different rooms that I could work in, and it seemed rather defensible with it being underground and not having to worry about as many mobs. I did also find a secret chamber with a bunch of fire ale and emeralds hidden behind one of the walls. So it turns out the Pyromancer was a bit of a boozer. I'm not 100% sure there. Maybe that's how they recovered health. This stuff makes me immune to fire at the cost of a tiny bit of nausea, so I'm gonna keep one of these around. It could be useful. As it rolled over to day 16, I was just digging around a little bit, seeing if there were any other secrets waiting around here, and figuring out how all of my new spells work. Oh. I headed down to the basement, collecting everything from the barrels, heading into that secret room, breaking down all of the redstone and digging it out a little bit so I could turn this into a bit of a storage room off of the main chamber. This gave me the space I needed to drop everything off and finally figure out what to do with those gems, making a smithing table and slotting the brawler gem into the chest plate to give myself another extra heart of health. But there were a ton of mob sounds right now, so much that we're actually dropping the volume on it. It was really hard to focus a couple times around here. I headed up towards the door, opening the trap door to be able to deal with a lot of the mobs, mainly by throwing spells their way or waiting until they kind of got stuck on the door and stabbing everything that moved.
Was that wearing a Nightmare Stalker helmet? It is. That's terrifying.
And if you're wondering why the mobs have all sorts of different armor and they seem to be getting harder and harder to kill, that's because they are. With each passing day, their attack and their defense, their health, they all increase. The world gets more and more dangerous, which puts me on a ticking clock. I need to constantly be upgrading my gear, my spells, and my weaponry if I want to have any chance at continuing to live. Because if killing a skeleton takes 6 or 7 or 8 hits, things like nightmare stalkers, things like endermen that get angry with no warning, they have over 100 health and do multiple hearts of damage with every swing. So I'm incentivized to move quickly, dashing out into the world, looting a few of the beds and other things from around the campsite to finally call that one done, heading over towards the structure that was filled with skeletons and digging in through the wall to be able to break a few of the spawners and get a little bit more of an advantageous position. And that would normally work, except the skeletons can fly, so they can counter me by gaining the high ground right back and sniping at me from my perch in the wall. I dashed away, slept in the middle of the field, dealt with a few zombies that were camping out in the river and from the woods, one being a baby with diamond armor on, which is just not fair. Okay, Gabe, that is not okay. But like I said, the mobs are always getting stronger, smarter, and more dangerous. My first instinct was, especially if that Pyromancer basement is where I'm going to be calling home, to torch up a lot of the forest, spending all of the torches I have, dealing with a significant number of mobs, some of whom were setting me on fire, just trying to get a foothold in this dark area and prevent all of the dangerous mobs from spawning. And then a skeleton juggernaut comes out of the woods, and I'm reminded how dangerous things can actually get. But here's the thing. I know magic, so I rooted it in place, setting it on fire and using all of my long distance spells and the sword to crit it out, capture its skull, and a really cool shield.
Ooh. Oh, that's really good. I don't know what that is. 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 It's coming for me. Okay. That's spooky. I don't like it. Why am I doing this to myself?
But with those 2 jump scares out of the way, I crafted up even more torches and continued on my goal of the day, setting up a lot more light in the area that I can secure the space. I did get jumped by this one skeleton that just had aimbot, was firing like back in beta, a full-on bow machine gun. But thankfully, my shield now damages anyone who attacks me when they hit the shield. So I just kind of held it up and was like, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, until they died. I did have a couple of creepers just try to jump scare me near the end of the day, but I got all the torches down, headed into my base, and realized, oh, my armor had taken some hits. I slept quickly and then spent the very beginnings of the next morning finalizing the storage space, getting a chest for blocks, a chest for all of the potions and different magics things that I had found, another chest for mob drops, and setting up all of the runes, dust, weapons, and all the affixed special ingredients that I think might be useful for spell casting. I found another little hole in the wall with some treasure inside. Ooh. Whoa. That's a lot of stuff. Those spells and the chestplate upgrade, that's definitely great. I slotted in the Fang spell through all of the armor that I had collected into a chest because I don't know what would be useful going forward. Heading up to the surface and dealing with a whole lot of mobs banging against the trap doors again. Some I was able to stab right away. Others required a little bit more magic to be able to get some additional distance, but I did kill what was basically a withered blaze, getting a darkness rod from killing that. But since I had established myself a bit of a base at this point and I had the storage to be able to collect everything, I dashed my way back over towards where the boat was that I had left, sailed over towards the spawn island, and went and grabbed everything that might potentially be useful from there, stuffing my pockets and my backpack before jumping in the boat, running back home, napping inside of the tree waypoint base before collecting everything from there as well, as I'm pretty sure the Pyromancer's basement is going to be the most appropriate for me, as, you know, as a wizard, I killed another wizard, so a wizard duel? I claimed that base in a wizard duel. We're gonna say yes. I loaded my backpack, grabbed everything I could, grabbed a bit of dirt along the way, and headed down into the Pyromancer basement, which is now my base. I figure paper is going to be pretty important for spellcrafting, right? All of these things are on scrolls, which almost certainly uses paper. So I started digging out an additional chamber out of the side of one of the rooms here, setting up dirt on both sides of it, having to dump my inventory multiple times because there's so many additional variances of stone, setting up the sugarcane along the walls, lighting everything up, and dealing with a few drowned that tried to make their way in through the flooded cave that's directly adjacent to this room I had just created. But I finished up all of the storage space, I finished organizing, I finished getting everything into place, and don't worry, we will almost certainly overfill all of these chests and require more, but at least I'm somewhat organized in 100 days. Probably the earliest I've ever been somewhat organized in 100 days. Look at me. Character development. With the base secured, I figured it's about time to do a little bit of mining and get myself all of the supplies I need to start making myself better armor. So I started digging a cave downward out of the basement area before realizing, wait, I can get this armor with all of these affixes and everything if I go loot instead. So I headed over towards the skeleton house, digging in through the walls to be able to get to a few of the spawners, and relying on my shield, which damages the skeletons whenever they shoot me, to have the skeletons basically kill themselves. Once inside, I started opening up a bunch of chests, seeing a few problems spawning out in the woods behind me. Why is there a Ravager over there? No, seriously, why is there a Ravager? But thankfully, Ravagers don't fit through human-sized doors, so I was able to continue looting while just hearing it growling, walking around the house outside. I made my way up to the very top room where I grabbed the lodestone, and yes, I know it's actually a lodestone, not an enchanting table. But inside was a really nice diamond helmet, and I also remember all of the comments that tell me that there's a secret in that room, so I headed up, finding 4 spawners in a room with a bunch of warped wood and a bunch of awesome loot. Oh my. Oh my. Curse of Binding is tempting. Yo. Okay. Diamond
shovel. I mean, protection 4. I lose a heart, but protection 4. That was some major upgrades, but I was also being blinded by some kind of magic, so I just ran around looking for whatever mob was actually doing that to me, realizing it was getting a little bit dark and I couldn't see where I was going. I slept in the bed here and got jump scared first thing in the morning. I don't like that at all. Why are you right there? Killing the zombie wearing the vampire on its head, I dashed my way out of the structure, getting over towards the water and opposite the dark forest, looping my way back around to my Pyromancer dungeon, and organizing all of my loot. I am genuinely going to try to keep organized this 100 days, okay? There is so much to work with. But now, most of my armor was actually pretty good, but I'm still stuck on iron tools. So I made myself a few extras, headed back up to the surface, torched around the spawn to try to prevent as many mobs from always lingering around my base, and headed over towards the magma ravine I had seen when I first came to this island, using that as a jump start to get down into some deeper caving. I dug my way down into a small pocket cave that led towards a spawner, which was spawning zombie villagers. So I'm not gonna break this one. That could definitely come in handy later. I torched it up, saw a whole bunch of gems and other treasure around here, and realized that this was attached to one of the better mine shafts that are part of the pack. There's a lot of different ore pockets at the end of some of these tunnels. Lapis and gold were the first two that I found, as well as a few high-level diamond armor wearing skeletons, which also kind of do all of these different things. The one thing that it can't do though is break the block in front of its face, allowing me to stab it in the ankle until it was finally dead. And that diamond skeleton was pretty stacked. Unbreaking 4. Max mana armor cooldown reduction and 2 sockets. Oh my god, that's huge. That's massive. And it inflicts bleed. 39% of the damage. Oh, that is huge. That is so huge. And some diamond pants. Like, that's honestly pretty good. What's in the chest? There's my golden apple back. Temptation? Temptation entices nearby farm animals. Healing received max mana and 2 sockets. And these mini bosses, which will spawn all throughout the world, both randomly and from spawners, are one of the best ways to get high tier gear. The blue are rare, which give things like those shields. Then there are the ones who are purple, which are even more dangerous. Killing enemies like this, going out and engaging with the bosses, is the best way that I'm going to survive. With the mobs getting stronger every single day, I need to be too. So things like upgrading my spells, getting myself way above vanilla enchant levels, that's pretty much it. Without it, I have no chance. So I found another boss that was just riding on top of a spider, killing them, getting some uncommon stuff, but a lot of spells in the chest surrounding them. And those I can put into my spellbook. Ball lightning. I kept looting around, finding a gold tier upgrade for my backpack, as well as a healing spell, which is honestly great. I can't go full offensive as well. I also need to be protecting and healing myself, and magic will do it a lot quicker. With a pretty successful run, I might not have found a lot of diamonds, but I did find a lot of useful things. I headed back up towards the magma ravine, swam up the water, and headed back down into the Pyromancer dungeon, where I organized and dropped off a lot of the loot, condensed a lot of the lapis down into blocks to save for later when I get ready for enchanting, took myself a quick little nap, and then it's time to really start on scrolls. I inscribed the healing circle into my book, as well as the ball lightning spell, the first of which will keep me alive, the second of which will make things dead. Oh! Okay, so it doesn't hurt me. It can't hurt me. That's all. Oh my god. That's intense. I love it. I need to kill the thing that's spooking me.
And you might notice, yes, I was being blinded this whole time while I was working on all of my magic. There's another one of those dark oak endermen up on the surface, which invokes darkness and does a pretty decent bit of damage. So I'm just killing it through the wall, through the doors, and all those red sparkles, yeah, it wasn't only an enderman, it was also possessed by a demon. I chose to not be concerned, planting all of the sugarcane around my house and then setting up a little bit of a farming area in the space that it looks like the Pyromancer was brewing things. Having better food is going to be really useful because that's going to allow me to heal even when I'm out of mana. And yes, I'm being blinded again. This is going to become part of a recurring problem with this base location. I dropped off all of the food, bone mealed it to get started, and then found out that someone had infiltrated my base. Oh my goodness, hello. Have for me acacia blossom, pumpkin seeds, and a saddle. I am so sorry, my friend. I need leads. After protecting my new home, which I killed the previous owner of, I quickly took a little bit of a nap, and the following day went back up to the surface to deal with another enderman that had spawned. Once the immediate area was clear, I threw down a bunch of additional torches, just trying to make more of a safe space for myself around the base, dealing with lightning to kill a lot of the poison spiders that were here, finding one that was once again glowing red, and once again had been possessed by a demon. And that was a bit of a jump scare. Oh my god, that was a bit of a jump scare. Having now slayed a devil, I realized that there was a little darkened shelf underneath the top part of the structure, but on top of where I was actually living, and that's where a lot of these mob sounds were coming from. I used my best lightning spells and big sword to eradicate most of the things that were living around here, throwing down a whole bunch of torches, which would allow me to secure the space, getting myself a really cool gem as a reward. Plus 5% to all stats. I struggled with the trapdoors around my front door a little bit, headed back down to complete my kitchen area, making myself some countertops, a cutting board, and then a whole bunch of mutton chops. And yes, you might be surprised, but I did leave the wandering trader alive, but then walking up my counters wasn't exactly appreciated. I made myself a quick campfire and then a cooking stove, setting those up, realizing that the cooking pot would be a little bit low and deciding to use a magma block to power that instead. It works! Oh, that's sick. I need a hoe. Oh. I kept growing a few potatoes using a hoe to instant shear everything so that I could just hold down right click, getting myself a bunch of cabbage, wheat, and other food, making myself a stove as well, which I could put a pan on top of and grill all of the meats without having to worry about any fuel. Think of it like a slightly upgraded campfire that can hold a stack of things at a time. I threw down some trapdoors so that I wouldn't have to see the sides of the dirt, making myself a whole bunch of cabbage rolls and then a diamond pickaxe, finally upgrading myself into the diamond tier. Day 25, I tried combining those different affixed swords that I had, but that doesn't work, which kind of makes sense. They're both unique weapons. Taking a look more into the Irons guidebook to learn more about what should be my next steps. And it turns out I need a bit of deep slate, so I headed back out along the river, heading towards the ravine, dealing with a zombie that had splash-harming lingering potions, which do really big damage if you're not careful. Thankfully, they don't have the power of lightning, so I was able to take them out, heading back underground, grabbing myself a magma block, and then a few pieces of obsidian. All right, everybody, favorite joke. While I was at it, I grabbed enough obsidian for both a nether portal and an enchanting table so I could get everything that I needed, heading back down into the mine shaft, just looking around to see if I could find any other supplies. There's a whole bunch of chains, iron, any ores that I could pick up. I'm not sure which are magical, which are more industrial, so I'm just kind of grabbing everything. But thankfully, my resource pack is working that the diamonds are glowing and I can grab them through the walls. Heading back up to the surface, it was dark out, so I had to be careful returning home as there was a whole bunch of mobs and I got down to only about 1 heart. Yeah, I really am not equipped for nighttime in this pack just yet. I arrived back at the house just as the sun was starting to rise, where I headed down into the basement area and cleared out one of the collapsed tunnels, building a nether portal at the very back of the wall. I used some iron to upgrade all of my affixed armor, repairing everything to as close to full as I could manage, making myself a pair of golden boots so I wouldn't be attacked by any piglins, grabbing a few supplies, realizing I didn't have a flint and steel, going out, grabbing some gravel, grabbing some flint, harvesting the sugarcane, lighting the portal, and going to hell. The thing I didn't know is that in this world, piglins are just angry. They don't need you to start a fight. They're already up for it. I'm relying a lot on the ball lightning spell to kill the phantoms that they're constantly spawning so they can't fly their way up the pillar that I built, stab me in the face, and murder me. But that initial fight already consumed a lot of the resources that I was planning to use to venture out deeper into the nether. I barely made it 20 blocks away from my portal, and I have wither skeletons using ender pearls to teleport to me to constantly hit me and push me to death. And that doesn't even count the mobs that are throwing their children at me, which are constantly flopping around and doing damage. You might notice that I'm on pretty much half health pretty much constantly at this point. This nether is scary. So with a lot of things attacking, I just decided to full send it, purling into the tower, blocking things off, where I was able to get a little bit of arcane essence, a little bit of iron, and from the chest upstairs, a decently enchanted bow. But surviving this nether is less about standing my ground and taking out enemies, and more about being extremely mobile, blocking off from the extremely dangerous ones, dealing with the children that are constantly attacking me, whether those be skeleton or tadpole, fighting the few blazes that fly into the chambers that I'm in, and realizing that my armor is taking a beating. I got a better bow, which I was able to use right away, as well as a blaze instruction manual, a really powerful spell book.
Oh my god. That's awesome.
Inside the very next chest was an affixed version of a diamond helmet that will give me some additional hearts as well as some fire protection, which is very useful here in the nether, heading up one of the spiral towers and leading towards a whole lot of blazes, where that fire protection was going to come in handy immediately. The only problem I had here is that everything else was attacking too. So skeletons being able to shoot through the walls, piglins just rushing me. I don't have the opportunity to just bunker down and defend myself. I have to keep on the move. Heading in towards the major fortress here, where all of the best loot is hidden underneath, being attacked by some zombie piglins, which pushed me back towards a previous defensive position. And I started to get overwhelmed quick. They can fly up over the wall, they can come up from underneath, and I'm at 3 hearts and deciding to just run. My only real benefit here is that my sword has lifesteal, so doing damage heals me. As long as I can get an occasional hit in, I can stay off of half a heart? Wait, I got down to half a heart? I'm just realizing this now. How did I not notice how close that got? I constantly parkoured around, just trying to find a place where I couldn't be attacked, running up one of the pillars, breaking the block underneath me, making it that there was only one way in. Everything was focused on attacking from below, so I could just constantly swing my sword to heal myself. Plus, everything was grouped up all in one spot, so ball lightning was really doing work, allowing me to get myself back up to full health, clear out all of the threats that were attacking me, grab a whole bunch of loot, and then think, okay, what do I do now? The problem I have is that this place is constantly dangerous, and you can't do things like shoot the gas fireballs. They just kind of explode instead. Then I had wither skeletons dumping lava on me, so I'm constantly taking fire damage. I'm back below half health again. I have little demon skeleton children coming and biting my ankles. I think this is probably a good excuse to go. I don't think this is smart. So I ran for it. I jumped down out of the tower, ran along all of the tunnels, smacking a few things along the way, and then just going through the portal with my shield up, hoping that the child who went through with me died along the way. Taking stock of everything that I had dealt with, I repaired and upgraded all of my armor, getting the plus 5% to all stats locked in on the helmet, combining the bows to get some good unbreaking and power enchantments, repairing my sword so that everything would be in a better state, and getting some well-earned rest. In the morning, I took all of the spells that I had, unsocketed them from my starter spell book, and then started putting everything in place in the fire spell book that I had just gotten. And I could put a lot in here, and it all boosts fire spells too. I did some experimenting with all of the new spells that I had. The firework one was basically an instant cast long range damage, so that's gonna be good. And I'm realizing now that I got higher level versions of the same spells that I already had. So I could just save off a few of those to hopefully combine or upgrade them at some point in the future. I socketed a gem on my sword, which is just a flat +2 bonus to damage, crafted myself up an enchanting table, and then set that up in front of the bookcase that already existed here in the base, trying to figure out the much more complex and intricate version of enchanting that this world has to offer. You have to balance Eterna, Quanta, and Arcana to get the best, highest quality enchants that you can, while also kind of cutting down on the randomness, and more than just bookcases matter when it comes to this kind of enchanting. And you can go way past level 30 if you're smart enough. This takes a lot of tinkering to get right, a lot of experimentation, but I'm getting way better than vanilla enchants on just one level, and enchanting doesn't take full levels either, so you can do a lot of tinkering. On top of all of the affixes and everything else that I already have on my armor, adding enchants on top of it makes me a lot more durable and a lot stronger, which means I can catch back up to how much stronger the mobs have been getting every single day. And the fact that the Nether is just baseline more dangerous, I kind of need all of this to have any shot at surviving in there. But with a full set of protection 4 armor, all diamond, yeah, that feels like that might just cut it. I returned back to the Nether, this time playing it a little bit smarter. The fortress area was right on top of where my portal was. So instead of going through the actual Nether fortress itself, I just staircased my way up and then started digging through the wall, getting into the actual interior fortress section from the floor, being able to kind of bypass a decent portion of the combat here. The only problem is it's not a really defensible position, and there's a lot of wither skeletons around here that I need to be careful for, because they have weapons that are a lot stronger than just the default stone sword from vanilla. Add to that the constant something has awoken nearby, and the bosses are starting to gather in number, taking out the mobs that are right here inside the fortress space before trying to find the staircase down. I grabbed all of the loot from this very upper area and then headed down into the lower section, getting myself some epic level gear, which will be useful, as well as some nether wart and other potion making supplies. Heading down the staircases into the actual bowels of the Nether fortress, I made sure to secure the interior room so that I didn't have to worry about wither skeletons, and then started clearing each individual leg. Looking inside of the armory to try to find some upgraded swords. None of these had attributes on them, grabbing the books and enchants from the library area that's down here, and dealing with the fact that, at least for right now, the zombie piglins are friendly, but that can change at any moment. That firework spell does decent damage. It might absolutely kill the YouTube compression. We'll see once this video is uploaded, but at least for right now, I'm relying on it, for better or worse, to be able to attack things at range. I am trying to be very careful about every arrow that I loose or any spell that I cast, that I'm not nicking a zombie piglin and making everything really mad at me. But the Nether fortress is paying out really well. Oh my god. That chest plate's insane. 9 armor, 2 toughness, plus luck, plus health, plus spell power. I'm getting a lot of diamonds, diamond armor, and diamond tools. Most of it with affixes that makes it even better or adds additional features. And taking on all of the puzzles in here, I'm able to get just raw materials and supplies from a lot of the chests as well. I did at one point have a ball lightning spell that I fired at a blaze, clip a zombie piglin, which meant I had a whole horde of them outside of the room that I barricaded myself inside. But I was able to rely on my compression killing spells as well as my ball lightning to clear everything there. Finding myself a epic level diamond chest plate that gives me luck, mana, health, and has 3 empty sockets, which is massive. Heading into an area where I found some crying obsidian, and it's time for the gag again, just purple this time. That stuff will be really useful for a scroll forge soon. So with my pockets and my backpack pretty much full, I just started working my way back towards home. I'd cleared most of the legs here, I'd gotten most of the supplies, and in heading down the final one, checking out the final chests and barrels, I found one more chest with an armor trim and some upgraded fire spells.
Yes, I got an armor trim. Blaze Storm.
Block drops will teleport to you.
Oh, that's sick.
Headed back up the spiral staircase and back towards the portal where my recording crashed. I didn't realize it at the time. It just kind of exploded. And day 31, you get to miss out on a whole bunch of armor upgrading, me putting all of my spells into place, organizing all of the loot that I had collected, and doing the tiniest bit of enchanting. I also just kind of stood on a magma block to break my boots. Yeah, I can see how you're really upset that you missed that one. I did end up going and picking up a little bit of deep slate, so you miss me dashing around and hitting up a ravine, but I'm hoping that all of the dramatic recreations that we're putting on screen right now really help you fill in for the day. Thank you, Beck. I appreciate it.
Wait, what are you doing?
I started the next day with actual live recording this time, completing a lot of the armor pieces that I had set up, getting myself some decent protection on all of my armor, especially those with the affixes on it. Then I researched how I could make a cauldron, and that required some cinder essence, which I could get by burning some arcane essence, which actually takes a long time to burn. I don't know how they set up the custom burn time. And this is the kind of thing that it's really hard to show in the video, but I had to do a lot of research into all the things that I could make with arcane essence and everything that would go in towards spellcrafting. But once that was all finally set up, I set up the cauldron in a corner, powering it with a magma block underneath, filled it with some water, and then started just kind of letting that simmer for a bit. We'll come back to it in a minute. I repaired my sword. I name tagged some name tags that I could have some special mobs if I happen to run out into anything in the wild. Fighting a few of the spiders in the woods on top of my base, and they're taking so many hits to kill. I desperately need to upgrade my spells soon. But I'm trying to push north, get up further along this island, see what else is around here. I kept fighting for a while. Progress was actually extremely slow, both from the mobs being pretty tanky due to the local difficulty and the fact that there were a ton of them. I only made it about halfway through the woods to a little clearing before a bunch of Vex started to spawn, and I hate these little buggers. But thankfully, my compression killing fireworks skills did make taking them out a little bit easier. Nailing my first flawless gem, I kept pushing through the woods, throwing down torches to mark a path before I was blinded by one of the dark oak endermen, which made it impossible for me to even see in the first place. Combine that with one of the giant zombies that uses a log as its weapon, and I was kind of in a bad spot, being pushed all the way back towards my tower and beyond, heading out into the open field, and then getting jumped by a nightmare stalker, which means I'm blind, I'm withered, I'm dizzied from being bonked on the head by a giant zombie, and I'm floating in the water dealing with the fact that most of these things are still trying to kill me and half of them are healing whenever I'm not dealing damage. And this Nightmare Stalker had a ton of health. I don't know why the info bar in the top left-hand corner isn't showing numbers or names or anything. Something about it glitched. I genuinely don't know. But I would love to know how many hits or how many hearts that thing had that it took that long to kill. With the Nightmare Stalker down, I had to deal with a skeleton that actually had Frostwalker boots on, so they were trying to kind of trap me in the ocean, which is a terrifying thought if you really think about it. Getting them killed, dealing with the maggots that were bopping out of all of the zombies, and having quite a few things in my inventory and quite a few arrows in my face. But as the sun rose and it was finally bright enough, I saw just how close to my final goal I actually was. I was maybe 10 blocks from completely clearing the woods, and all of that fighting had just set me back pretty intensely. I made a little bit more of a path, getting to some palm trees and breaking down some coconuts to make myself a few more tropical drinks, using the ball lightning spell to try to kill any of the rats that would try to steal my food. Unable to obliterate the seagulls with the lightning. Man, that is a weird... How is this my job? I love that this is my job. I made my way up on top of a bit of a grassy knoll, seeing some amphermites? Amphermites. I've only seen this written down. I don't know what they're actually, how that's pronounced, but the main thing from the ultimate survival adventure that everybody was a little upset at me about is that I never got a dragon mount. So now knowing where some of them are will be useful. We'll come back here later. But I kept heading north, finding finally a village. The only problem is it's in another dark forest, which means it's constantly under the assault of tons of mobs, both of the pillager and undead variety, meaning this village doesn't have a long time to live if we're gonna be completely honest. So I'm gonna have to do some looting and some pillaging myself. I grabbed any arcane essence that I found, some other affixed items, and whatever else was potentially useful. Jukeboxes? Yeah, I'll take some tunes. But there is a ton of mobs here. They are constantly spawning. They're constantly attacking, and that iron golem that the villagers spawn, it's constantly being chipped down. I found a whole bunch of food in one of the chests, finding another one, which was from the Ice and Fire mod, so I could finally find myself a bestiary and put a whole bunch of manuscript pages to work, sleeping in one of the houses here, and continuing my looting the following day. Finding a whole bunch of redstone and a weaker version of the firecracker spell that I already had, a flawless lightning gem, which would make me a whole lot faster, and a bunch more meats, breads, and other foods, which I will take. I found another healing circle spell in one of the chests here. That will be useful. Grabbing all of the wool and dealing with a few pillagers just waiting outside the windows, you know, just as they do. Why this village chose to set up here, I have genuinely no idea, but don't worry, it's gonna be abandoned soon. The only problem was, during fighting those zombies, I accidentally clipped the golem with one of my firework spells, meaning it was now aggressive at me. Thankfully, I was in the water, so it was just kind of sinking to the bottom while staring at me menacingly. Unfortunately, I did have to kill it. This would undoubtedly accelerate the village's decay, so I grabbed all of the remaining spells from the tops of the towers, looted all of the farms, and marked this one as red, pretty much just writing it off for dead already. But that was a successful expedition, a bunch of resources, a bunch of intel, and a potential place to trade. So I headed out of here as quickly as I could, leaving whatever villagers had survived so far unloaded that hopefully they would make it. It did take a better part of the day to make my way, doubling back, retracing my steps, dashing along and going along the outside riverside of the wooden forest instead of trying to fight through, so I wouldn't have to worry about mobs pushing me back away from my base, allowing me to get back home in time, plant some of the food crops in the kitchen area, dump all of the things that I had collected, and throw down the book to spend any remaining manuscript pages that I had. I organized a little bit going into the following morning, where I'm just trying to cook myself some mutton and eggs while I have another Enderman just blinding me up in the woods. I used all my spells to just burn that thing down, continuing to torch around the area, fighting the occasional mob here or there, letting the food cook while I continued out and exploring. I actually headed back over towards spawn because I was kind of looking for cows. I want milk for one of the recipes, but along one of the coastline was a whole pod of those giant dinosaur sea monsters with the big runic symbols on the side. I just tried chipping them down with the fireworks spell, seeing just how many casts it would actually take to kill one of these things and what they potentially drop, when I was jumped by a necromancer. And this is actually a bit of a problem. With the two tall grass, I can't really fight it or any of the zombies that it's spawning, and it's constantly pushing me back with its frost spells that I can't stand in any of my healing spells, or it interrupts the casting time on some of my longer to cast spells. So I had to go with good old-fashioned American magic and either shoot things with a bow or stab it with a sword. That kind of falls apart as a metaphor since I don't have a gun, but maybe I'll do guns in another 100 days, one of these days. That could be fun. Amongst the fight, I did get pretty stinky, surrounded by fly particles, which meant a whole bunch of flies would continuously attack me. I went home, took a shower, and rested, repairing my sword, which had taken a pretty big beating as a part of that fight, and looking at all of my armor, realizing that my pants were broken, my helmet was about to break, and things were not looking good. So I grabbed a pair of vanilla diamond pants, did some enchanting on those, and then repaired them with as many diamonds as I could spare. I'm pretty diamond poor at the moment, so we're gonna have to go mining. For that, we're gonna need a bunch of food. I decided to go with barbecue on a stick as one of my main ingredients since I couldn't find cows to make milk to make loaded mashed potatoes. I did a little bit of auditing of my spells and saw that my healing capabilities were actually a little bit lacking. And thankfully, since I had a scroll forge, I could create a higher level since I had some uncommon ink to do so. So I took one of those pearls that I had just gotten from the village and crafted up a level 4 healing circle spell, breaking down some of the older ones to recoup some of the ink that I had used, pulling my best double toil and trouble. As I finished boiling my scrolls, harvested my sugarcane, and had bosses spawning on top of my head. I did do a bit more work on the enchanting area, firstly just enchanting some books, making some barrels to store all of that, and getting a sharpness 4 book that I was able to put on my glacial sword. But it was time to resolve the I'm just gonna put these shoes on and not worry about the curse that was on them problem. Finally time to do this. Ow, 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 ow. I really need to break these boots though. Why do they have to have Unbreaking 3? The only thing I remembered is that was actually damaging the rest of my armor too. So I just unnecessarily did about 100 damage to every other piece of armor that I had, stripping that off to only deal with the boots, eating a bunch of barbecue, and then spending my last 4 diamonds to repair all of the armor that I actually wanted to keep. And this process, diamond boots with Unbreaking 3, this took a while. This is not my finest moment. Please break. There we go. My feet are free. Which means we can use these now. I will say though, once I got the new boots that had better dodge, better speed, better step height, it almost feels like a full day spent making that happen was worth it. And the next morning I thought, you know what? I've spent all this effort into getting better armor, better enchants. Let's go get into some trouble. So I crafted up a few golden apples. I took a look and saw that I could make god apples if I actually get really deep into a lot of the potion brewing here. And we're heading north towards a probably somewhat familiar structure. Now is not a good time. I'm not sure you want to be here.
Oh my god. I was holding my breath for that entire fight. Whoo. I was holding my breath for literally that whole fight. I forgot to breathe, I forgot to talk, I forgot to be entertaining. It just wasn't happening, okay? That was a worthwhile god apple use. Unfortunate god apple use, but worthwhile, I guess. I mean, it's that or being dead. I'll take alive. With the dragon slain, I did my best to secure the nest, as since it was really late at night, quite a few zombies were spawning. There's some decent stuff in here, nothing super great, but I did have to deal with a few creepers and other issues. I did my best to clear out all of the mobs around here. There were quite a few, including ones that were dropping down lava, which was somewhat problematic as I don't like to be burned. But I realized that I could actually throw down my backpack and then unroll the sleeping bag from inside it to have myself a quick little nap, continuing to push my way north and finding some new friends. Oh, that's an entity. This isn't an ordinary bell. Best friends forever. So wait. Awake the first of the village. What do you do? Oh, you're a friend. You're a friend. Follow me, friend. Come on. I don't know what you do. I left the golem behind, pushing even further north, seeing a diamond block just sitting out, and you know I can't hesitate pushing the big red button. This feels like a trap. I kind of really want it, though. This golem actually does really massive knockback damage. That is, unless you root them in place with a root spell and then just constantly throw magma bombs at them. Magic, it turns out, is a bit of a cheat code when it comes to fighting. They did get sleepy instead of actually dying, but I did take care of that problem, getting a bunch of fur and a few diamonds for my trouble. I checked inside the little skulk platform and nothing else was down there, unfortunately, but I did continue north, seeing a village in the distance. The only problem was somebody else had already claimed it. Felling the dragon, I ran to the village, slept inside, and then announced myself as the hero while grabbing everything that wasn't nailed down. I continued looting my way through all of the chests around here, getting a little bit of everything. I mean, these villages have a ton of stuff in them, and they're both useful for the food that I can feed myself, as well as all of the equipment to craft up new spells and spell books.
But I was most excited for the library that was right in the middle of the room. If I can get a good librarian with some good rolls, it could make my gear last a lot longer. I headed over quickly to the dragon's nest to mine up all of the gold that was around here and take all of the iron, finding a few more spell books, finding another quick nap. And the following morning, purchased an evoker map from the priest here, which pointed me off to the east. I started moving slightly in that direction, seeing another diamond golem spawning platform, and somehow this one spawned two?
Wait, did I snipe it? Oh, no, wait. No, did I duplicate that somehow? Yep, I duped it somehow. I don't know how.
The fight is a little scarier and a bit more complicated, but I was able to kill one of them, which dropped me nothing, getting jumped by an enderman who was angry for no reason at all. And yes, this is foreshadowing to things I'm gonna have to deal with in the near future. Don't you worry, that's gonna be dangerous. But I was able to clutch my way through a few of the golem's attacks, relying on my firework spell to do damage from range, clearing them out, getting myself a bit of deep slate and a few more diamonds. I'm gonna need a reliable way to earn emeralds before I can really do any more trading here, so I headed south so I didn't need to worry about things attacking the village, having to instead worry about things attacking me.
Oh, the ice dragon. Okay, idea. Dumb idea.
So I liked it, making my way south to the island and thinking, let's make a dragon sword so I can fight the ice dragon. Only problem was I didn't have any wither bones. So I ran, jumping into the water and unfortunately being pursued again.
Oh, that was almost really bad. I cannot believe that I made it out of that alive. Oh. Okay, I can breathe now. +4 luck? Okay, hold on. I'm holding on to that for a second. Hi, Jenny. Just Jenny. Oh, jeez. Which probably means that they're horrifying, right? That's just scary. +4 luck. Oh my god.
And that had actually been quite the lucky day, all things considered. I didn't end up as dragon food, so we're gonna call that a win. And I thought, since I had survived all of that, let's reward myself. Let's get myself a really cool dragon mount. So I crafted up a bunch of shields, as I had read somewhere that those would be important, making myself a whole bunch of food, harvesting a lot of the crops, just using all of the bone meal I had, chopping up any of the meat I had been collecting from the villages to make myself a whole bunch of barbecue on a stick, as well as a whole bunch of loaded baked potatoes, since I had a little bit of milk now. I made myself a dragon flute and a dragon control staff, thinking that those would probably be useful in, controlling a dragon. Heading out of the base as it was dark, but thankfully I'd set up enough of a torch path through the dark woods that I was able to make it to the northern beaches. The only problem is there was a skeleton juggernaut there, and that thing has a ton of health with the local difficulty just continuing to increase. So I have to rely on a lot of my spells, doing a lot of poison damage over time, trapping it, continuously holding it back, and having to fight my way through its shields. Eventually, landing the kill there, getting myself a full pile of dark metal, so I was rewarded for the effort, sleeping on the beach, cleaning up a few of the straggling mobs, and then heading to where I had seen all those amphitheres, and they're gone. They're over the ocean. They flew, they flew away. So I grabbed myself a little bit of bamboo and a few other jungle materials, headed all the way back, running on top of the dark woods so I could get a little bit closer to where they were circling, shearing myself a bunch of leaves to get myself up a little closer and hoping that I could cast a ensnare spell, which would lock them in place, allowing me to jump on their back.
I also saw that if I hit them with any projectile, they'll fall to the ground, but spells apparently don't count. So I looted a few chests that I found in the water. I crafted up a few little bit of flint to make myself some arrows, since I need some good old-fashioned, wood shooty sticks instead of the power of lightning. Heading out the following morning, boating my way across, and just trying to catch up to these flying dragons. I had a crossbow knocked and loaded, which had extra projectile speed, so I'm hoping that means it'll cover extra distance. Just trying to get a shot on one. And just as I finally did nail it, and I'm like, oh cool, we're gonna have a normal moment where I just tame a dragon, an elephant appears. While the wandering trader watched on, I jumped on the amphitheater's back, holding up my shield, which wasn't working for some reason. It just didn't block, but I didn't take too much damage before it finally got tamed, meaning I have a mount now. I can fly around. I used the dragon control staff to lock it to this position, did a little bit of trading with the wandering trader here, and then jumped on my dragon and started flying home. And I know it's not actually a dragon, it's like a wyvern hybrid harpy kind of thing. I'm gonna call it a dragon because it's cooler if I call it a dragon. I have a flying dragon now. But I needed to repair my boots as they had taken a pretty big beating, taking all 4 of the diamonds I had, enchanting a set, and then combining it with my quick-minded boots, giving myself protection and projectile protection. Those actually kind of stack in this pack. I'm kind of here for that. I made myself a grindstone, which would allow me to remove some of the enchantments, re-enchanting a chestplate to get protection 3, which I was then able to combine with my affixed version to get prot 4 and fire protection as well. I figured as long as we're upgrading our gear, there is still an ice dragon hovering somewhat relatively close to the base. So I took the only wither bone that I had and made myself a dragon flame sword. I enchanted it and then crafted it into the flaming version, which removed the enchants because it's not a smithing table. So I had to enchant it again, going through a couple different enchants before eventually settling for sharpness 2. Doesn't mean it's gonna last very long, but this thing is really explicitly only for killing dragons. I'm not gonna be using it all the time. But now that I can fly, I jumped on the amphitheater and headed out, heading to the frozen north, finding out what those 3 structures that I had ignored a long time ago are. Turns out the first one is just filled with White Walkers. That Ice and Fire really is doubling down, and this is the part of the mod that I'd never seen before. I fought my way through a whole bunch of the mobs, just constantly swinging, trying to figure out how I can open the door, as I can only dig a 1x1 hole in the wall. My poison spells are actually working pretty well, and I'm getting some okay experience from all of this, but it is costing me a whole lot of durability, and occasionally you'll get a White Walker who can use Ender Pearls who will teleport outside and takes a bunch of hits to kill, as they're usually the higher armor, stronger ones. I wasn't getting a lot of loot from the chests that I saw here, so I looped around to another portion of the structure, and nope. I am not having that. I had to run around for a little bit to find the amphitheater, who had moved around to the other side of the structure, jumping on their back and flying further north, finding a sunken ship that is embedded halfway up an iceberg, getting some ink, some gems, and a whole load of paper. I followed the treasure map on that, digging over towards a buried treasure, continuing north even further, and then looping around towards the east to start heading roughly in the direction of the village that I had found previously. Along the way, I found another Pyromancer tower, this one matching the one that I had back at home, except with a living Pyromancer inside who was willing to trade, allowing me to get a legendary magma bomb scroll. I sold whatever things I could find and then attacked, engaging in a wizard duel, but this time I had a whole bunch more spells and a really strong sword, so I was able to take them out pretty quickly, looting the chests on the upper level and knowing where the secret rooms are, finding a whole bunch of diamonds and other treasures hidden behind the walls. With everything collected, I jumped on my dragon mount's back and flew my way back towards the field outside, dumping a lot of the loot inside all of the chests and doing my best to keep organized despite having multiple different mods worth of equipment here. I spent some time taking all of the upgraded spell books that I had collected, slotting those into my spell book and preparing a whole new set of weapons.
The only problem I have to deal with right now is my mana is not keeping up with the enhanced mana requirements of some of the higher level spells, so that's something I'm gonna have to keep an eye on. What would help with that would be being able to see, as there are more dark oak endermen up top constantly blinding me. But once that was taken care of, I jumped on my mount and started flying off towards the location on a map that I had purchased from the Pyromancer. This would theoretically lead me towards another wizard, which had a different school of magic and a different set of spells that I could learn from them. The only problem was they were so far away, like so immensely far away. I flew for the entire day, passing over dark towers, different biomes, islands, and ocean. Look at my mini-map right now. Look at how far I had to go. Making it to the structure in the distance and sleeping on top of the tree. That was a long car ride, I'm tired. But I was greeted outside of this hopefully friendly wizard's house by a necromancer and a phantom, who I had to quickly take out with my fireworks spells and then a sword to the face. Jumping into the structure itself and seeing that this is a new poison wizard that I can talk to. They had a few interesting things to buy, but you know me, I have to go looting through everybody's belongings, which the wizard did not take kindly to. We lobbed spells over the fence that I had put in their door until one of us was dead, and thankfully it was them. But with the previous resident just nowhere to be found. I wonder what happened to them. I did go through and salvage a lot of the magical materials from all of the chests. I grabbed a few cherry saplings so I could bring a little bit of color and life to the very dark and bleak part of the map that I actually live in, heading to a swamp village that I had passed on the way here to explore around and see what was available. My dragon kind of flew away randomly, and I wasn't sure exactly why, but I was about to become extremely aware. Summon horse? No! Oh no! Oh no. We are several thousand blocks away from spawn. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So, my ride's dead, and I'm stuck in this village really far away, several thousand blocks away. And oh, by the way, I've opened enough chests that the priests, they're mad at me too. And the birds are shooting feathers at me. And I have a lot of problems. I am so far away from home. This is gonna take forever. The following morning, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I am 4,000 blocks away from home, and if I so much as go in the water, I'm gonna be eaten by the giant runic dinosaurs. So we're gonna have to come up with a different way home. I fought a crab that was directly outside of the house before running back over to the west. In the wrong direction, yes, but there are some jungles over here, and maybe there could be more amphithers that I could spawn in and tame. There's more of the birds that are shooting their razor feathers at me, so it's more of a problem than I need. Finding a bit of a calcite tower that had a couple odds and ends available in it that were pretty cool. I kept heading west, finding my way towards the jungle and striking out. There was no flying mounts around here, but there was this well with a bunch of lava inside, and that gave me an idea. I'm about 4,000 blocks away, which would take a really long time to make it back, and the overworld's very dangerous. The Nether is also extremely dangerous, like very, very dangerous, but it's only about 250 blocks. So that would be a lot more manageable. So I started casting a portal using the lava that was here. There was exactly 8 pieces of lava, which I could turn into 8 obsidian, which means I'm a few short on a full portal, but I am able to loot the chest in here, being attacked by more of those awful, god-awful birds. I finally found a bird that I hate more than the seagull. I finally have found one, and it's this dang razor bird. But if I wasn't worried about being attacked from above, how about from below? As alligators started attacking me, just rolling me around and doing a ton of damage over time. With broken pants, I slept, and I had a decent bit of loot from the chest here, but a lot of problems. I am stranded thousands of blocks away. I'm wearing iron pants. The mobs are only getting more dangerous, and I need 2 pieces of lava if I want any chance of making it home. First, I checked around the well. I didn't find anything, so I dove into the closest cave that I could find, just focusing on going down, getting closer to lava, getting closer to any sort of way of finding it out of here. I dug my way into a pretty decent sized cave that had a few lava pools that were spilling out through the cave, grabbing my 2 buckets and then immediately swimming back up. I'm not going to be caving out here. I just need to get home.
And this, believe it or not, was the easy part. Now we have to go home through the Nether. Oh boy. What the heck is that? Hi, Dave. That's terrifying. We'll come back to it later.
Now I need to move carefully, but extremely quickly. The straddlers that throw their children at me, they're gonna be a problem. I have to fire dash my way over any of these gaps. I need to be very careful of magma cubes, as if any of them do enough knockback to send me falling down to my death, I'm gonna have a lot of problems. And look at that, I'm already at 2 hearts. Oh my God, I forgot how dangerous this trip was. This was so bad. Why did I do this to myself?
What broke? My helmet. What was my helmet? Oh God, I don't remember.
Now down multiple pieces of armor, I carefully bridged my way across the basalt's deltas, digging my way into a wall and keeping the waypoint for my home portal both up and active and directly in front of me, trying to carve the straightest path so I'm in the Nether for the shortest time. Lava is a bit of a risk, but one that I can manage. It's the mobs that are far more dangerous. So I'm just trying to go as straight as I possibly can, as quickly as I possibly can, seeing a couple epic level bosses spawn right by my portal, and just taking a deep breath and making a break for it.
I am not letting go of this right mouse button until we are safely in our base. Oh, we made it. Okay. That was genuinely very scary, but we're home. We've made it. I have so much organizing to do. Storm gem, flawed, lightning gem, storm gem, splendor gem, all the gems.
With myself returning home, I realized my backpack was entirely full. That venture out, that little 4-day excursion that I got stranded, it had been very profitable on the loot front, even though it had cost me multiple pieces of armor to do. So I had to set up a couple additional chests, drop everything off, and upgraded a few of my spells. So I was home and alive, but at great cost, having a lot of my armor pieces really kind of negated and reduced, which is a pretty big setback for the halfway point. I did a bit of investigation into the Iron's guidebook to see what would basically be my next steps, but turning instead to apotheosis, as I could use a lot of the gems that I had collected, smushing them up into gem dust, to be able to craft a few items that would allow me to add these affixes and attunements onto armor pieces that I craft, meaning I don't need to only go out and loot to get this really good armor. I can make some of that really good armor at home. It's intense. It requires a lot of work with getting all of the gems in place and breaking everything down. So I did make myself a new gem crafting area, specifically sorting all of the gems into the super high quality variant, as well as the lower ones, also taking all of the blocks and putting them just kind of in a chest out of the way in the foyer of this area and getting the base a little bit more organized as I slept, hitting the halfway point of this adventure. So it's time to really get in towards the end game. I trapped the piglin that had wandered into my house in a hole and killed them just because I didn't want any surprises. But I wanted to investigate making a reforging table. This will allow me to add those affixes onto the armor that I craft instead of just having to be stuff that I'm looting. And this is gonna be a really weird problem, but I need smooth stone to make it. And I don't have any. All of the different stone variants in this world mean that I'm getting a bunch of other stuff and none of it smelts up into smooth stone. I even started digging out on the side of the building that I'm in, and I'm getting a bunch of this white dolomite, some of these other kind of end stone looking blocks, a bunch of silver ore, some moss, all of those is useful, but no smooth stone. Just nothing I can smelt into just regular good old-fashioned smooth stone. So I headed back up to my base. I crafted up a diamond sword because my iron swords were looking a little rough and I know I'm going to be able to modify them soon. Grabbed a few pieces of stone from the structure that I'm in, smelted those up to get what I need, and crafted the reforging table. Now, this works by combining the armor pieces that you have with materials that you get from scrapping all of the pieces that you get that already have affixes on them. I didn't know that at the time, so I need to make a salvaging table to be able to make the affixes. So I need a bunch of lava for that. So I headed out to go to the ravine because I need to dig down and start looking around and just trying to find myself a lava pool. So I went down deep into the area around the mine shaft and just started digging in straight tunnels, hearing for the lava bubbling in one direction or another. I found a bunch of uranium. That's not ominous at all. It's not magical either, but I'm gonna keep it because you never know. Maybe nuclear armament is the final boss of all magic. But I dug my way into a cave that was just packed with mobs. I'm mainly relying on my spells to be able to take them out and then rooting a few, jumping down into the cave to take those out with some good old-fashioned stabbing. In this little pocket, I found a bunch of jade, a few diamonds, some redstone. All of that is great, but it's not the lava that I'm looking for. So I just kept digging through another tunnel, finding a whole bunch more mobs that I was able to take out with my magic, and then things that were a little bit harder to kill, like a vampire that would just frantically regenerate its health randomly and undo everything that I did. I was eventually able to just overpower its healing and kill it with poison and fire effects, but it took several rounds of getting it down to like less than a quarter of its health, having it heal to 100%, and then just getting one lucky shot in with a poison arrow that over damaged it before it could go ahead and heal again. Jumping down into that cave, it was really full. There was a ton of mobs in here that I hadn't seen because they were hiding around the corner in the darkness, meaning that I'm getting frozen, I'm getting overrun, and I'm getting stabbed by a lot of zombies with really strong weapons. So I built myself up onto a little bit of a catwalk and just kept throwing lava down and poison down to be able to damage over time the enemies that were trying to kill me. But I didn't know what day it was at this point. We only found it out back in the recording by counting the time. So I actually ran all the way back through all of the tunnels that I made back into the mine shaft, slept in one of the beds back there, and then headed back over. My entire thought process was, I don't know, I just wanted to sleep, I think. But in getting down into the cave, I had to deal with some really wonky things, including this giant black cloak entity that just freaked me out, I'm not gonna lie.
What the hell? What the hell was that?
Kill the life stealer.
Ah! Don't mind the fact that I'm not me. I don't have internet right now. They cut the internet line in front of my house. It's still me. Ah! Oh god, that's terrifying. Life stealer bones. Lots of seeds of chaos, actually. That's actually pretty good.
Having killed the life stealer, I walked about 10 blocks and got jumped by another necromancer who was throwing magic my way, and it was a good old-fashioned wizard duel. That was until they called all their friends who tried to gang up on me, so I had to retreat back to the bridge that I had into the tunnel, throwing magma bombs down until I had cleared out all of the ads, and then heading to take on the boss itself. But I'm really determined. I want to clear this tunnel, and getting attacked by more spiders, more zombies, a chupacabra just jumping me down in the cave. There's a lot here that I had to go through, and my magic it's holding its ground, but I am going to be slowly losing ground with every passing day because everything keeps getting stronger. Chupacabra meat. Okay. No, my helmet! Not again! Oh, actually, that turtle shell helmet's pretty good. I pushed through despite my helmet breaking, finding another vampire, and this one being a little bit easier to kill. Maybe I timed the damage just right, that it never hit that healing threshold, dealing with some other wolves and some of the giant tree-wielding zombies, before heading into a lush cave area, and there's a bunch of glow berries and other things here, but I'm excited mainly about the lava, grabbing my 2 buckets and just immediately legging it out of this cave, up the ravine, and back over towards my dungeon. That was a 3-day adventure for a couple of buckets of lava, but finally we can do some really cool things with our armor, breaking down the existing items that we have that have affixes to get the different rarity materials. Now, I can only craft up to the rare level in this tier 1 enhancement table, but that's at least something where I can get started. Oh. 6 sigil of rebirth, 3 enchantment levels. That could be sick. I need sigils of rebirth. So to do that, I need to make these rune tablets. So I was able to craft those up with just a little bit of deep slate. Thankfully, I had enough of that just kind of lying around. Oh. Okay. 2 luminous crystal shard, 1 enchantment level. Okay. How do I make a sigil of socketing? Dragon's breath, of course. Now knowing how the table worked, I did a little bit more investigating into some of the other components that I could use for this, and then crafted myself up some diamond tools and looked at the vanilla crafted armor that I had made myself to see what additions I could add on. +7 armor, +4 max health, and a socket. Make some more sigils of rebirth. 6, 2, +4 max health. Max health or max armor? I have a socket then. Oh my god, wait. Oh my god, look at my hearts! I have 19 hearts! Oh, that is so awesome. So worth it. Now that I had given myself a pretty substantial upgrade, almost doubling my overall health, I spent a bit more time just adding in some additional gems to take that armor from great to amazing, getting some additional damage, some additional speed, and some additional XP. Then it was time to go put it to use. I immediately headed out into the field directly on top of my house and just started taking on whatever I could find. I did have to deal with a wolf who could throw tridents, so that was a little bit unexpected. I'm not exactly sure how they're holding that. But having double my hearts means I can stay in the fight a little bit longer, which is great when a nightmare stalker comes out of nowhere and attacks you. This time, however, between my armor being upgraded, me being a bit better equipped, and having better spells, noticed that I never even went down below my 2nd heart health bar, which means even without the hearts, I would have survived this fight. I'm being a lot more durable than I was earlier. I kept fighting through the night, getting myself over level 30 so I can do some high level enchants, breaking the turtle shell helmet that was giving me 2 extra hearts, so I'm down to only 17. It's okay, I'll manage. Oh, my helmet. Heading back into the Pyromancer dungeon and going to sleep.
The following morning, I had to deal with some flies who spawned on top of me, which is not the best way to wake up. Doing a little bit of organizing of all of the materials that I had collected and going and spreading out everything that I had as those chests were starting to overflow. I have quite a bit to use here, and I don't know what's useful or what's junk, so I'm just hoarding everything. I did a little bit of enchanting at the enchanting table, getting Unbreaking 3 on one of my books and just throwing a low-level protection on my pants and sharpness on my sword. After combining everything up, I have some better enchanted gear, so I'm gonna be a little bit more survivable still. Then looking into what I can make as far as the spellcraft to be able to make my spells a little bit more potent, and figuring out that I can make a ring of mana by getting 4 arcane ingots and a diamond. Now, that'll be useful. I'll save that idea for later, but I grabbed a few of my blaze rods and other components, and then started looking at my spell book for what spells were a little bit lower level and I could potentially upgrade. Ball Lightning was the first candidate, throwing that up to the max level that I can currently craft with Epic Ink. Still saving the lower level spells because I know that they're going to be useful, instead turning my magic to the kitchen to do some culinary wizardry to get myself some better food so that I'd be able to heal with some bacon sandwiches that will give me a lot better saturation. That night, I went out for some more fighting. I want a lot more XP so I can enchant and upgrade my gear, so going out and getting into fights is the best way to do that right now. I did, however, get in a little bit over my head as the Nightmare Stalkers were back and were angrier this time around, doing a lot more damage per hit and getting me caught in a spot where I was stuck in a hole. I didn't know it because I was blind, but I was stuck in a hole where I could not get away from them. I did eventually flame dash my way out of there and then just ran across the river, away from the base, away from all of that land, seeing another Amphromite in the distance and saying, I want my ride back. So I cast Root, which might effectively be Earthbind, bringing them down to the ground and jumping on their back to tame them. And it went about as well as you'd expect.
Let's go, new dragon friend. That is, oh, no. I should get the flute, shouldn't I? I'm gonna go get the flute.
I sailed back home to grab the dragon flute, which is what you could use to make the Amphromite just immediately come down to the ground so you could get them running out and sailing and running along the coast trying to chase that one golden creature, which I knew was the one that I had just gotten off of, but they had flown so high up they wouldn't listen.
That's annoying.
I'm not gonna lie, that kind of sucks. I really like having the cool flying mount, so the fact that it just leaves is really mean. But since I was already this far north, I headed towards the village that I had come across earlier, that one that wasn't in a dark forest filled with zombies, thinking I'm gonna do a little bit of trading with the villagers here, specifically this one librarian, to get myself something that I can use to repair my gear. I was shooting for mending, but I found something a little bit more interesting along the way, and I think it really works.
Ooh, this could be fun. That could be fun.
Life Mending is actually a really interesting enchantment. It does mean if I'm in the middle of a fight and my armor's taking a lot of damage and I use my spells to heal myself, it's gonna be a lot. Well, no, it's not gonna heal me at all. It's gonna repair my armor. So I need to be careful and mindful of where I'm at and the status of my kit and myself. But it does mean that I can basically repair all of my armor for free as long as I'm out of combat and have the time to cast all of my healing spells. And that's a good trade-off. While I was here, I finished looting the village, grabbing whatever food I could find that wasn't nailed down because I need a lot of it. And I gotta say, as I was running around and stealing everything, it was a little quiet, and I think I might have messed up here. Knowing that the one life-mending villager that was now trapped in the corner in one house was the only villager left here, I felt a little less guilty finishing looting all of the structures, getting the last little bit of food from everywhere around here. And I thought, well, wait, there's a priest here too, so maybe we can make more villagers?
Don't tell me you've taken like a vow of chastity or something. Oh boy.
Well, since that village can't be saved, I headed off towards the east to just go exploring, finding another dark well along the way.
Oh, nice. Golden apples.
Gem of Arcane Recovery. Sick. That's sick.
And continuing east, ending up a little bit trapped in an open field that evening and resuming my nightly duties of stabbing whatever monsters I could possibly see and or immolating them with fire. But thankfully, I was far enough away from the area I had been in that the difficulty somewhat reset, as the enemies were no longer assaulting what was a known base position of mine. I found a tower that was trapped at the top, and I'm very glad that I had checked underneath, seeing as it would have blown me up if I didn't. I tried to sleep, but there were monsters nearby, a child riding on a danger flap outside the window, keeping me from being able to get some rest. The following morning, now that the sun was up, I saw that there were some other things waiting for me out in the field here.
Oh my, a wither skull. That could be fun. Write down the gravestone of an immortalized person. Oh, interesting. That's a lot of dark metal too. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of dark metal.
And with a mostly full backpack and a ton of items stashed off in that tower, I kept exploring around the area, getting a bit of glass and some leather from mobs, thinking let's craft up another backpack to be able to double up on my storage space. It kind of would basically work just like a shulker box. I started smelting all of the materials that I would need for that, running over to a nearby dragon's nest to grab a whole bunch of supplies. No eyes on the dragon though, don't worry, that'll come back later. But I took out a bison thinking maybe there's some chance this will drop some leather, but I think I might have cooked it a little too well.
Oh, they don't drop leather.
There was another diamond golem right here that I was able to take on, and getting stuck up in a tree meant that it really couldn't attack me, which felt a little unfair. So I did eventually jump down, relying on my sword to do a lot of the damage on this one, as my mana was dangerously low. But once I made it back towards the tower, I was able to finish crafting up a standard traveler's backpack, which gives me another 3 rows of storage for loot, meaning I can actually carry a lot, which is good because I have a lot of unstackable items right here, so inventory management is really starting to become a problem. And you know what you do when you have that problem? You double down and keep exploring, finding just a little friend hanging out by a little brick house.
Hey, buddy.
I crafted up a bunch of golden apples from the gold that I found in there because I figured it's always nice to have some additional healing heading across the field, seeing a tower in the distance. And it turns out this is a pillager tower, and not only a pillager tower, the one that map that I had bought some 30 days ago was directing me towards. I headed into the cathedral on the bottom floor, broke the lectern thinking I'll just use this to get another librarian, finding an emerald block underneath that and a dungeon underneath that, breaking the spawner right away and finding my way right back to where I had started, starting to head up the spiral tower, getting attacked by a pillager with a sword instead of an axe, which feels cursed when you think about it, getting some really good loot from the middle chests, and then having a big problem.
Oh, I don't like that sound. That's a Vex. Fire immunity. It's like... Does it have durability? No, I'm just... I'm just immune to fire. Oh, that's sick. Oh, we can abuse that.
Not wanting to deal with Vex right now, I headed back over towards where I had stashed the mending villager, getting another life mending book thanks to the emeralds that I had just collected from the pillager tower, and wanted to get that onto my chest plate, but not having enough levels to do it. So instead, I threw it on my boots just so they'd last a little bit longer, spent some time healing myself to repair everything, and then wanted to head back over towards the pillager tower, getting jumped by that dragon that I just mentioned who was pissed off that I took their stuff. My fire immunity doesn't carry for dragon fire, and you could probably get some really good lore implications for that, but I bet it's just the mods not actually working together. because the fire dragon is also vulnerable to my firebomb spells. So it's just different fire. We're just gonna say it's different fire. I killed the dragon, slept inside its nest to establish dominance, and was very nearly blown up by a pair of creepers first thing the following morning. I grabbed all of the gold from around here, crafted up a couple more golden apples, because like I said, more healing is better, and returned to the Pillager Tower to immediately be accosted by their arch evoker out the front door. It's time for another wizard fight.
Oh my god, I got him! What just broke? What just broke? What just broke? My helmet, okay. Oh my god, that was intense. But I got him. What an evocation rune? Chain creeper scroll. Some epic ink too. Okay. Assuming that means this place is safe to loot now. Ooh, okay. Luck. I'll take that. Oh yeah. Ball lightning. Smite. Blaze storm. Oh, that's so good.
With the Arch Evoker defeated and the tower raided, I gave myself a quick nap, finding some additional secrets in the morning.
Wait a second. Ow. Ooh, cheeky chest. You know what? I'll take a random enchanted helmet for right now. Gold. Blood slash. Wait, that was a legendary ink. Oh, that is so good. Our pockets are full again.
Now, I absolutely already was out of storage space in my inventory, and this did not help. So I banked a lot of the stuff that I had collected, mainly all of the items and armor that wouldn't be stackable and wasn't worthy of being part of my inventory right now. But I don't want to make the some 2,000 block walk in the overworld, so I figured there's a better way. I ventured out a little bit further, finding some obsidian in the distance, which I was able to mine up. Don't mind the obsidian golem just kind of chilling in the middle here. They're just a friend. They're just kind of hanging out. But I returned back towards the tower, heading into the church and building myself another portal in the very front of their cathedral. There's something sacrilegious there, but I'm too tired to come up with a joke at the moment.
I did hear a few straggler pillagers hanging out around the structure somewhere, finding one of them just kind of hiding in the basement inside one of the dungeon cells. But I lit the portal, made myself a chest, stashed off anything that wasn't emergently necessary to take all the way back towards base, gave myself one more quick little nap, and then ventured into the Nether to receive the worst spawn I've ever seen of all time. And I'm in a basalt delta because of course I'm in a basalt delta. It's always a basalt delta. Well, this is not fair. That has to be the single most unfair Nether portal I have seen in my entire life. Oh my god, that was almost horrific. What is this structure? But that fire immunity ring is coming in clutch because I don't need to worry about falling down inside the lava itself. I'm just safe from it. I mainly need to worry about the magma cubes and other mobs that hit like a truck if you're not careful. I made my way to a warped forest and then to an ash barrens. That castle seems somewhat exciting, but also extremely ominous, so we're gonna try to get to that later. But I'm running around here trying to find some piglins, because I want to do a lot of bartering with all of the gold that I have before attempting to return back to base. It would be nice to get there with the materials to potentially head towards an end, because there's a lot of evocation magic that I can unlock if I kill the dragon. The only problem I have is that sometimes piglins just are mad at me. No reason. I was just walking around and they just attacked. And fighting back upsets all of the other zombie piglins in the area, so it's not great. You can't even pillar up because they can fly, so they can just knock you down. But lava works really well. They're also immune, so it's not going to damage them, but it does push them back, allowing me to focus on melee combat to clear out all of the enemies, and eventually, through great effort, finding a few unzombified piglins that I could start throwing gold at with a hope to barter for pearls. I did have to isolate a few children so that they wouldn't steal all of my gold, eventually making a small room with a few potential traders inside, crafting down all of the gold blocks that I had back into ingots, and then just kind of hanging around and waiting for bartering while a ton of zombie noises appeared around me. Now, I only have 2 piglins trapped in that hole, which means several gold blocks worth of gold is gonna take a while. And I was there for the remainder of day 62 and into day 63 as I finally traded for everything that I had, threw away anything that didn't feel really useful that mainly I had from the overworld, and just kind of begged. I really wanted the pearls from here, eventually landing on 11 overall, which isn't perfect, but with a few that I have in my backpack is enough that I should be able to open the end portal as long as I don't get unlucky on a ton breaking. Once I opened the door, I did have to deal with a few zombie piglins, which the sweeping edge on my sword attacked the piglins, so I had to kill the people that I was just bartering with, and there's no witnesses to this capitalism, and I don't expect any of you all to snitch either. But I had to fight my way through the mobs for a little while, some of them dropping affixed armor that was actually pretty decent, so I was kind of excited to get all of that. But I ran my way out of my box and then started thinking about how I'm gonna get home, and I am immune to lava, so swimming my way across the bottom of the Nether, I did pop out on a few islands just because I can move a little bit faster there, dealing with a quick gas problem and then seeing some kind of lava dinosaur. And I'm not sure if it's friend or foe, so I did just kind of start throwing spells in its direction, but it didn't even move. So maybe it's stuck, maybe it's friendly, maybe it's super friendly. It doesn't even care that I'm hurting it. But instead of trying to make it towards the spawn portal, I did end up doubling back and heading towards the portal that I had just entered the Nether from, returning back towards the Pillager Tower and doing a little bit of inventory organization, because I actually think I'm gonna live here. This is a cooler base. It's an actual tower. I'm a wizard. I want a tower, okay? I don't want to just live underneath the ruins of one. So the following morning, I took all of the arcane essence and other things that I collected from this structure to make myself one of those rings of mana, having plus 100 in the spell points category.
That's great. I'll take that. I did have to repair my chest plate, which was looking pretty rough, with just a few diamonds. Potentially a inefficient use of experience, but I don't have enough levels to be able to get life mending yet, and I need my armor at max tier because I figure I might as well just go to the end from here. I'm far enough out that I'm actually going to be closer to where the strongholds are probably going to spawn. So following the eyes from the tower is a lot more efficient way of dashing my way through the woods and doing so in half the time, because I bet if I went back to spawn, I'd just be heading this direction anyway. I made my way to a large clearing of a field where the eyes started to turn, sending me a little bit more to the westerly direction before leading me to a giant pool of water in the middle of this forest. The eyes actually doubled back after here, so I dug my way down into the caves, throwing an eye when underground to get a little bit of a closer idea of where I needed to go, heading down yet again to a secondary cavern that was mostly flooded, dealing with a few mobs around here, and then just mining in the direction that I got of the tower, breaking into another air pocket cave where I could see the stone brick of the stronghold peeking out from on top of me, and getting jumped by a creeper swarm that tried to blow me up. But I mined my way down, dove into the tower itself, and just blocked it up behind me. Finally in the stronghold, having to do stronghold navigation in a bigger, much more complex, much more maze-like structure. And the creepers are a problem, my friends. Not so much for me, but because they break blocks and spawn a whole ton of silverfish. I can just throw down lava to protect myself from the fish, but that does mean that I accidentally set part of the stronghold on fire, so I am burning some of the loot that I am actually here to collect. I made my way into the armory, finding an amazing shield, which I immediately had to combine, and some boots that gave me protection 4. So that's a nice late game buff right before trying to take on a dragon. As the day rolled over though, I want to get any last minute supplies from around here because I don't know what the dragon fight will look like. Even just random mobs in the overworld have had so much more health and have hit so much harder that an actual boss feels like that is going to be an insane amount of risk. But I do really want to take them on, and once I found the end portal room, I got kind of excited. It's going to be risky to even potentially challenge this, but it is going to be a good idea. That is, if I can survive. But I'm operating on the idea that I will, right? So I made myself a portal right here in the Stronghold room, which would allow me to return back via the Nether a lot faster after I return triumphant. Before heading through, I did a final run through of the Stronghold, getting a last little bit of food and a set of boots that had Feather Falling 4. So I'd be able to take on the dragon with a near perfect set of enchantments. But I finished clearing out the last little bit of the Stronghold, mined up a little bit of cobblestone from the floors, smelted up some potatoes so I'd have quite a bit more food, crafted some golden apples, slotted in the eyes, opened the portal, and headed to the end. And there's two things you need to remember. One, Endermen randomly get mad for no reason. And two, this is one heck of a boss fight. Oh my god.
That was a 3-day fight. My God. Wait. What? 6 armor. 6 armor, 2. Plus 5 max health. See, that's plus 10. Oh, I'm gonna get netherite? Oh my goodness. Oh, this is power. This is immense power. What broke? What broke? What broke? I don't like that sound. I hate that sound.
Once through the gateway, I had to make little puddles on this side as well, and even go so far as digging down underneath them, making a little air gap underneath the water, as without my helmet, I'm gonna be taking a lot more damage. I relied on letting the chunks load and then just flame dashed or pearled around, seeing legendary tier enemies just spawning naturally on the ground. Those are fine, right? Those are something that I can choose to engage with, but the Enderman just always being aggressive and being able to fly over the water is a constant problem. But I'm only here for a few things, so I can just kind of run, leg it, heal myself in between each individual hopscotch, just running from place to place, trying to continuously check the map to see if I can see an end city in sight.
There you are.
But this, I gotta admit, this is the most aggressive end I've ever been in, which made this really difficult. I pearled out to the closest island I could find towards that end city and had to actually make a pretty risky bridge, breaking it behind me so that nothing could walk along and follow me. I was lucky enough that nothing flew over and bopped me into the void. I made my way over towards the city and just thinking, no, I'm not even gonna bother going in the front door, pillaring directly up towards and bridging over towards the boat to get my main goal.
Give me the wings! Give me the wings! Yes! Okay.
Plus 6 health.
Wait, that with the thing is more. Oh, that's so good. Perfect. 0.05 luck spell, power spell resistance. Perfect. Perfect. Genuinely perfect. Okay, so we do have quick swap.
That replacement helmet actually made me feel a little bit safer, so I tried taking on some of the shulkers around here, and they have a lot of health. They have like 15 sword swings worth of health, way more than they do in vanilla. But it's still worth trying to get a little bit more loot. I dove into the very top of the topmost tower where I knew 2 chests would be waiting. A ton of shulker bullets were there waiting for me, but I blocked up and just grabbed everything out of the boxes.
And mending, oh, that's awesome. Overheal, plus 5, plus 6 is plus 11.
But like you just saw in the last clip, my inventory is already extremely full, and I'm not gonna be able to do anything about it unless I get some shulker boxes. So I tried shooting the shulker shells that were here, using both arrows and my existing magical spells, but I am not doing a ton of damage. The majority of the day was spent only doing like half health damage on one shulker. But that's not the scary part. When I walked up onto the roof, I saw a Mimicube on top of a phantom, and screenshot this because I wasn't gonna leave this on screen for more than a second. That thing, when it hits you, it copies your armor, meaning I'd be facing something wearing the same gear as me with all the special abilities. I die very quickly. So I just thought, nope. I ran back inside, boxed myself up, and flew out the window, abandoning that end city as quickly as I could. I landed on a citadel nearby that was made of the same materials, with a few shulker boxes randomly placed around that I thought maybe I could get a few shells if I get a lucky kill. The only problem was, there's a ton of angry endermen all around.
You know what? I'm good. I'm good without shulkers. I'm gonna die. This place is horrifying. I need to leave.
So having got myself all of 1 elytra, 1 helmet, and a few bars of gold, I'm just gonna cut my losses here. Not even bothering to go to a gateway, just flying over the void itself to make my way back towards the main island, landing inside the little area that I had secured previously, and just jumping through the portal. Once in the overworld, I had a quick nap, and the following day, it's time to start heading home. I'm doing so via the Nether. I have a set of wings, so the trip from one portal to the other is pretty quick, and I was able to get back to my home portal that led into the Pyromancer dungeon that I called home for the first half of this 100 days.
Home sweet home. Oh, good old-fashioned getting blinded.
You know what they say, home is where the blindness is. I made my way up to the surface to confront the Enderman and any other mobs that might have been lurking on top of the base, having to swim down the river as I was taking a bunch of different hits from a bunch of different sources, which is really the only way that I can get overwhelmed and really hit negatives here.
Oh, home sweet home. Okay. We have so much to figure out. Gems, 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 gems. +6 health, that's massive.
All right, with the dragon dead, it's time to get to work. First thing was organizing all of the gems that I had collected from all of the Enderman bosses and mini bosses that I fought there, and taking some of it and scrapping it down, getting a few diamonds from the diamond horse armor that I know I'm not gonna use because I have an elytra now, or I could go fly on a dragon, one or the other. I combined and repaired a few pieces of armor, did some investigating into what I would need to do gem cutting, which would improve the gems, but it's a lot of stuff that I don't actually have and can't afford. And then turned my eyes towards the pants, the netherite ones that I had acquired during the boss fight, and whether or not it was actually an upgrade.
That'd be +11 max health compared to +10. That's worthwhile. And then if we add another 2.5 armor and cast time reduction, that's gonna be sick pair of pants. That works. Okay, so we need to get life mending. That already has mending.
So yeah, the definitive upgrade across the board, and all of the gems in there makes it really, really powerful. I'm even a bit faster, which caused me to have to adjust my FOV slightly again. But I finished breaking down all of the stuff that I wasn't using anymore, getting all of the base materials and enchanting my elytra to get Unbreaking 3 on it so it would last a little bit longer. But I will say, there's a ton of upgrade paths in this pack that I didn't even get to even to this point, including the dark metal upgrades. I hadn't even seen one of the Chaos Knights in this world. That's how much content there is in this one. But I can now fly, so let's go fly.
Oh, that's just wonderful.
I headed south, the main direction that I had not explored at all, just to see what was down here. There's a few Grim Reaper looking creatures, a few other monsters and monstrosities, but nothing that immediately attempted to eat me like the dragons that are flying to the north. There were a few dragon nests, so I needed to be careful, maintaining my distance from those while flying over the dark woods, hitting another place where I was getting kind of to those spooky woods, and seeing another of the more gothic villages in the distance.
Villagers!
I went looking around all there, getting a teleport scroll, which might be useful, a few runes, and a few other emerald and magic items. But the zombies were already attacking pretty quickly, and zombie villagers were following suit almost immediately. I I grabbed whatever food I could find, a few enchanted books, including some pretty decent ones. Completing my looting a little bit later into the evening, where once it was dark, the zombie virus really set in and almost everything here was attacking me. The only thing that had survived was a few leather workers, and I'm in desperate need of some armor right now. So I marked the village and flew my way back home, dropping off everything else that I collected and picking up all of the leather that I could possibly manage. After that, it was dashing back up to the surface, heading off to the north towards the towers that I had been at from the Nether side. I saw an ogre that had just killed a dragon, just sitting on the field right there. Nothing ominous about that at all. Landing on the first of the 2 towers that I had stored loot inside and grabbing all of that, throwing it into my backpack now that I had the space to bring it home. After that, I returned to the Pillager tower that I had dropped off a whole bunch of things there, grabbing mainly the leather from there and having to deal with a few pillagers that had respawned since I had vacated the area. It wasn't any of the magical ones, just the ones with crossbows, so it was quick to handle as I dashed my way back south, landing at the spooky village and trading in all of the leather that I could manage, getting myself a cool 16 emeralds, which isn't great, but is something that can lead me towards being able to get another Life Mending 3 book from the village to the north that is comprised entirely of only the librarian that tells me Life Mending 3. Look, villagers don't do well in this world, okay? They do not survive long. This isn't my fault. It's just how it plays out. But I made my way back home, organizing all of the enchanted books to be by the enchanting area, chopping up a lot of the meat that I had collected from the villages, until I was able to make myself a whole bunch of steamed dumplings, which I know doesn't exactly fit the wizard theme, but it is the best food quality-wise that I can cook for myself right now, so you know I'm gonna have to eat that, right? But once I was done cooking and figuring out that I could scrape together a little bit more leather for a few more trades, I did get jumped in the middle of my house, and now we've got a problem. That zombie was pretty tanky. It actually took quite a few hits to kill and a few spells, and if they can find their way into my house, maybe this place isn't so safe anymore? But I'm not thinking about that just yet. I'm doing a little bit of enchanting on all of my tools, using a combination of enchanting with the raw levels that I have from killing the dragon, as well as all the books that I've been collecting from all of the villagers around the world. Adding enchants on top of the affixed items that I have means that I have quite a bit of some really powerful gear here. My sword does sharpness damage to everything and then bonus damage to illagers on top of that, extra looting for my weapons, extra durability for all of my tools. The main part now is keeping them alive, so I flew my way back all the way north towards the village that had life mending in it, picking up a couple more of those books so I could set to repair my gear. After that, I headed west into the frozen areas directly next to that, actually finding an igloo right here that I was able to pick up pretty quickly. Down in the bowels of that was a few apples and a few golden apples, and I know the game wants you to use this to cure the villagers there, but I'm just gonna kind of leave them. They'll be useful to save to repopulate at a later point, so I'm not worried about them at the moment. Instead, I'm just flying around a little bit because, ironically, if I want to move out of the Pyromancer dungeon and move in towards the Pillager tower that I had taken over, I need leather. It's nothing if not a short-sighted decision that really messes me up for long term. I need to craft up a whole bunch more backpacks as shulker boxes were not available. So I landed at one of those skeleton tower structures, the like skeleton wizard houses, landing in on the roof and finding out that there was yet another secret room on top of the existing secret room that I knew was there in the previous one, with a bunch of gold, iron, and diamond affixed tools inside. So I worked my way down on this one, hitting up all of the upper areas with the valuable loot before heading down into the main room, breaking spawners as I go, throwing down fire and poison on the stairs underneath me, to eventually try to get to the quote-unquote lower value chests that might just have leather inside. But But as I headed outside to break the outside skeleton spawner so I wouldn't be surprised from extra attacks, a nightmare stalker jumped me, taking out a massive chunk of my health extremely quickly and forcing me to run through the woods blind before I could finally find a space to throw on the elytra and dash up into the sky. I got onto the roof, healed myself a little bit, and started making my way back down, breaking the stairs underneath me and actually using the anvil that is part of the decoration of this structure to get life mending onto my elytra to be able to then use a lot of castings of healing circle to heal the elytra up. While I was doing that, the nightmare stalker was just waiting on the broken stairs underneath me, so I was able to use a lot of my AoE and damage over time spells to be able to slowly chip them down to the point where they became visible and then just started stabbing until they were dead. The following day, it was nearing the end of that recording day. It's about like midnight, 12:30, and I'm just flying past the Pillager Tower to collect a last few things. And then the dragon found me.
Well, that's a problem. All right, game on. Oh my god. I was just going around and doing... I'm like, oh yeah, let me log in and just do the last little bit of thing. No biggie. It'll be fine. It, in fact, was not fine. Oh my god, that was so close. Okay. So that's probably this one right here. Oh boy. Oh, it's so scary. Okay, let's go back to just trying to find a cow. I am so glad I made this sword. That honestly saved my life. Cows? I mean, there's one way to get leather. Sorry. Sorry, horses. Cows. With a very close call from death and then finding some leather through also death, just not my own, I returned back home, smelting up the glass, crafting the leather, and starting to break down the base, getting all of the essential items stored into central chests as I crafted myself up a couple of backpacks. I then made a couple of iron and gold upgrades and attempted to apply those to each of the backpacks, but I think somehow, maybe because they were stacked up here, it didn't exactly work. So despite being upgraded to gold and supposedly having 6 rows, each of them only still had 3. So That's gonna mean I'm probably gonna have to do multiple trips here, but I know, inventory management. I know you all love it. I know it's your favorite part of every video that I do. But I combined tools, broke down essential ingredients, tried to reset on the upgrades, but it just wasn't applying. Getting all of my arcane dust, all of my ink, and all of my enchanting supplies ready. Trying to figure out why the backpacks were glitched and just not getting anywhere, so just resigning myself to having to take multiple trips while crafting up one additional one, which this one actually worked. I used that one to store all of the food, had yet another zombie come in to cause me a few problems, and then finished breaking down all of the gem cutting and other items to be able to stash the entire base, or at least all of the valuables in it, across 3 backpacks. And late in the night, under the cover of darkness, I just dashed my way north, finding my way towards my new home, where I got started on fixing up the portal, cleaning up the cobwebs in the basement, finding the hidden chest full of amazing loot. Finding the hidden chest full of amazing loot? How did I miss this twice? More legendary ink. Yo, that's such a big win. But that feels like a pretty good sign, something telling me that this was the right call. I broke down all of the different wooden, sort of rotten and dilapidated decorations, putting down the important things like the enchanting table, the gem cutting, the enchanting area off in one corner, putting basically everything that would be like metalworking and armor smithing in the basement, and then taking the very top room of the tower and setting that up as a proper wizard's study, with the cauldron bubbling in one corner and all of the spells, spell books, and scroll forges off on the other side. Now, there was one problem. Pillagers would occasionally spawn around here, but it's only a few and only with crossbows, and I have magic, so their guns don't really seem to work. American magic isn't as powerful this time around. But the constant respawning, while that didn't work, the pillagers did think, let's send a proper patrol, a proper squadron to go take this guy out. And I just kind of obliterated them, I'm not gonna lie. I was able to burn them all down before they even escaped out of the river. Dashing around and back, I did have another couple spawn, but this is kind of just a good source of repeated XP for me, as I'm able to take them out relatively easily, taking all of the wood that I had crafted from a quick little trip to make a bunch of barrels, which might not be the most efficient as far as storage and at least clarity of storage, but it definitely fits the vibe of having everything here in the basement. And we're gonna store a majority of our materials on the main floor in what used to be the cathedral room and is now turning into a general storage / nether portal room. I spent the majority of the day just moving and organizing things, getting them into proper chests, getting all of the chests labeled, and having everything set up into late in the evening, where I heard a few more pillagers outside and then got back to my organizing, finally having everything in place, set up, organized, and categorized right as the day ended. The following day, I mainly focused on making this house a home, getting a proper front door on the place so that nothing could wander in uninvited, crafting up a diamond hoe, and then starting to make a little bit of a garden area in the space inside the walls. The floor here is made of a combination of blocks that can become dirt and blocks that can't, so I have to mine things up and clear them, dealing with the gurgling of a few drowned in the water underneath the structure, which, okay, this might not be the best foundationally, but it does still kind of work as a nice base. Once I got the farm up and running inside for the majority of the wheat, I thought, oh, this isn't gonna cover it. I'm gonna need a whole lot more. So I grabbed a bit of water and started tilling out a massive plot of land directly in front of the area where I put a lot of the more interesting crops. Thankfully, those crops are immune to the fire that I needed to use to immolate any pillagers that were continuing to spawn here. But by the end of the day, I'd planted up a full and proper field with all of my foods that I would need to survive the remainder of these 100 days, throwing down a whole bunch of torches to start securing a actual beachhead in front of the base that mobs couldn't spawn in. There was a ravine here, which I did put the effort in to try to cover up. In between fighting any zombies that were coming and giving me grief, I'd be throwing down netherrack and throwing down dirt on top of that to be able to secure it so I wouldn't fall to an untimely death.
I kept working on the ravine and finishing planting all of the crops, dealing with the pillagers that were becoming just kind of a constant annoyance, but it's good, it keeps it interesting. Getting items I wasn't going to use scrapped down, flying over towards the other tower that I had used as a storage space, picking up all of those supplies and transferring them back over to here, using that middle of the tower room that had a little bit of a library kind of vibe to make that into my proper bedroom. And it had been just enough in real life at this point, between logging out overnight a few days ago in game and working on all of the different menial tasks around the base, that I had forgotten about Bad Omen. And I knew that I needed to go do a little bit of trading for another life mending book. So I flew over towards the village and then was reminded about Bad Omen. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh, no. All right, lock in, everybody. Let's do a raid. Cleric, I hope you're worth your salts, because we're gonna need your help in about 3 seconds. Crafting table, anvil. No, my villager. No, my villager. Oh, I have messed up. So stupid. That's genuinely upsetting. I'm mad at myself for that. That was so stupid. So that is that's a bit of a setback. Losing the life-bending villager means all of my gear is once again on a time limit. So I'm gonna need to be a little bit more careful in the fights that I pick until I can find another way to get everything repaired. I made my way back over to the Pyromancer dungeon, taking all of the backpacks that I had and making one final run, picking up a few of the other supplies and essentials that I had left behind that were still valuable, but just not worth going on the first trip. If you've ever moved, you know how much of a hassle this is. Once things were full, I started dashing my way north, seeing a dark well that I could stop at, having a named skeleton try to jump me, but they're doing no damage. The alligator, on the other hand, that was actually a little bit scary. And once I was in the water, I figured out what the Undead Knight's issue was. They freeze the water, so they're just kind of trying to drown me right now. But I was able to take out both the knight and the alligator, clearing out the lava from the dark well and picking up the coal and dark metal from inside. Heading north, stopping at a dragon's nest that I'm pretty sure belongs to the dead dragon sitting on the plains here, and flying my way back towards the Pillager Tower, which is now my base, so I guess it's the Legundo Tower? Emptying out all of the backpacks that I had to be able to organize the remainder of my loot here at home. And now, it feels like home proper. I went to go do a bit of enchanting, looking into what I can do to actually upgrade this thing. And if I somehow find an ancient city in the next 20 days, we can do some really cool stuff with additional level bookcases. That, or I could go to the end, and there is no way I'm going to the end. But I need some ancient debris to be able to get some netherite. So instead of the end, let's do some other interdimensional travel. Hi. Bye. All right, let's do something a little crazy because I am currently immune to fire. So we can do something a little stupid. And let's find a good spot for it. Over here works. Okay, that's house I'm going to check out in a second. Boop. I love it. Oh my God. Okay, they're all immune to fire too, apparently. Oh, that was a lot of piglins right there. Okay, I'll have to be wary of that. Here we go. Why is it just raining piglins? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. What is this? Incendium releases radiation when blocking. So I went to take care of the ghast in the center of the structure so I could loot safely and, why is that ghast regenerating? But I thought, you know what, no matter, I have magic. So I used every damage over time spell I had and then went in for the kill. Okay. Does it just have infinite totems? I think it does. So this is a game of get the loot. So that's not gonna work. I grabbed whatever else I could and flew away. Oh, that's intense. I love it. That's so much fun. Oh, I fell. Having cleared out a nuclear reactor, I found a little house just floating on a piece of gravel nearby, digging in through the roof, breaking the spawners, and having a couple piglins angry at me, even though I had done nothing wrong. I took care of that with magic, looting the chests and getting some interesting things, picking up some leather and some other valuables before flying off. There's an identical house somewhat nearby that I repeated the same process, going through the roof, break spawners, loot chests, grab everything valuable that isn't nailed down, and then it's time to do something a little bit weird. I have a ring that makes me immune to fire, and I have a mod that makes it so that you can see under lava pretty well, so it's time to go hunting for ancient debris. I was flying around with rockets diving underneath the ground, flying up to where I would find ancient debris, which was glowing because of my shaders, so I could mine that, it wouldn't burn in the lava, all of the other blocks around would instantly burn, so you don't have to deal with the issue of just a ton of netherrack, and you can find ancient debris pretty quickly. Doing this led me over towards a bastion, a treasure bastion, which has a lot of lava at the bottom, so I'm able to do the same thing, swimming underneath the bastion, and I'm not gonna lie, it upsets me that this doesn't go down into the surface, but at the same time, I'm gonna use this. Swimming up into the bastion and using my firework spells and my awesome sword to take out the piglins around here. Now, the only thing I have to worry about is that some of the piglins are actually immune to lava. If a brute gets me there, I'm gonna be in trouble, so I need to be careful. I kept my chest plate on, I was taking out everything one step at a time, using the lightning spell that I could target enemies without actually requiring line of sight, just being able to blast anything close. This whole time, I was trying to swim over towards the magma cube spawner, as that was a ton of enemies that could constantly damage me. And fun fact, magma cubes can damage you faster than any other mob. Really weird, but I know it's true. But I had to clear out everything around here, dealing with a few zombie piglin that had ended up riding on phantoms. Finally being able to get towards the center of the area, breaking down all of the gold blocks and getting a ton of awesome loot from the center chest. I got the upgrade template.
Hell yes. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's massive. Poison splash scroll. That's good too.
With the upgrade template in hand, I looted some of the other chests that had good food, useful things, heading up to the top of the tower and relying a lot on my spells to be able to try to do damage. Except the dangers that I was facing didn't come from in the bastion. They came from on Phantom back. The zombie piglins with affixed weapons riding on top of phantoms is now the worst possible thing that I've fought in any mod in Minecraft. They are relentless and they are constantly attacking. So I had to box myself in from the outside, making sure to take on all of the piglins from inside by just stabbing their ankles, looting the chests and finding some questionable magic in here.
Heart stop. That sounds absolutely brutal. I love it. I love that a lot. Slow. Magic missile. I can take all of those. We have 8 scrap. And we have a template, which is the important part. So 1, 2, 4 more scrap would be ideal.
But as I was flying around looking for more ancient debris, I found somebody who had made some questionable real estate decisions.
What? My friend, you are lost. Did you just take up residence in the worst possible place ever? Oh my goodness. Well, that is distinctly a choice.
After bidding my new friend adieu, I found another nether structure that had a blaze spawner inside and a chest hidden underneath with some magic essence and other useful things. Continuing to fly and dive into lava to mine up all of the different pieces of ancient debris that I could find, and getting random advancements that I have no idea how I actually got.
I didn't do anything. I mean, okay, I'll take it. 10, 11, 12, 3, so 4, 8, 12. I really want to upgrade my sword. Well, we also just need netherite 4 things. We need 1 for this.
But I ended up underground underneath this lava lake and figured, you know what? I have a pickaxe that mines 3 tall. I might as well just go and do this the old-fashioned way a little bit, doing a bit of underground mining, landing myself a whole bit of osmium. And I didn't realize that this was crossing over with Ad Astra, but I guess kind of, indirectly, sort of. I mined until my pickaxe was almost broken, relying on the life mending and doing a lot of spells to be able to heal it up, before realizing that this wasn't gonna be as efficient as just continuing to fly through the lava and diving underneath to find what I wanted. Along the way, I found another house, this one with a tiny little angry wizard who would blind me from inside. They made all sorts of Enderman-related sounds, which was a little spooky, I'm not gonna lie, and I had a whole bunch of pearls sitting in the chest, so I just kind of left. I flew north to continue on my adventure, landing in a new biome with a really ominous advancement.
It is so bright right here. Beautiful and deadly quartz flats. So pretty. There's also a fortress there. Wait, what is this? Yo! In the golden age, the great king ruled this castle, but he was betrayed, cursed, and exiled. This is what remains. This place looks intense. I don't even know where to begin. That might be where to begin. They have anti-air rockets. Map, mark.
But I decided let's leave the Piglin Castle for now, flying back over towards the portal and returning back to my tower, spending a decent bit of time dropping off all of the loot that I had collected and trying to keep moderately organized. I have set up kind of 4 separate different storage rooms, which isn't efficient, but it's very thematic, and you know me, I'm gonna go for vibes over efficiency any day. But I started smelting up the ancient debris so that I could get the netherite scrap, crafting that into ingots the following morning, and then doing some investigation into the spells that I had collected from the bastion to see what exactly they do. Not knowing what Heartstop does, I mean, that's some gross looking textures on screen. Magic Missile turned out to be just a slightly upgraded version of my fireworks spell. It does a little bit more damage, but at the cost of having travel time. Not needing to justify my actions any further, I grabbed a whole bunch of arcane essence and headed downstairs to make some arcane cloth. Using this, I can craft it with the netherite ingots to make some awesome armor.
Oh, yes.
That wizard helmet gives me a whole extra 100 mana. So I went down and started enchanting it because it's going to become my new helmet. And I want to keep all of the awesome enchants that I have on the main one. While I was at it, I put Unbreaking 3 on my pickaxe. And can you believe that I was mining in the nether for ancient debris without Unbreaking 3? Yeah, not smart, I know. But I threw a couple other enchants on my helmet as well, and then went to go put it in the affixing table, forgetting that I needed to put the rarity materials inside before it would actually tell me what was there. So I'm just thinking, no, it's not gonna work. Don't worry, we'll come back to this later. But I duplicated the netherite template and started upgrading my other pieces of gear, and I look fierce. Heading up to the top floor and to my magic room, I grabbed my legendary ink and some of those pearls because it's time to upgrade my heal spells since I have extra mana. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this is where my power grows exponentially. We might jump the shark a little bit here, to be honest, because I'm about to learn this entire pack's cheat code. Let's become a necromancer, why not? And if we get fortify. Oh, wait. So now, okay. So let's add raise dead. Fortify. So I want to test something. Oh, it gives me health too, okay. Oh, that's way better. Oh my god. I'm just a necromancer now. Heck yeah! Oh, this is so cool. I have so much power. Oh, I have so much power. I'm gonna be able to take on anything. They're a monster. Oh, but they count as monsters still. Get the pillager. Where's the pillager? Come on. Come on, squad. Oh, they teleport with me too. I can summon more. Oh, I could have an army. Let's go this way. Get him. Oh my god! I have an army! I have become a villain. Oh, my friends. And then I buff everybody. Oh. Oh. Oh, I've become too powerful. Okay, boys, you did jump scare me, which is a little uncalled for. Oh, God.
But emboldened with my new ability to summon an army at will, I went flying out, exploring some other areas around. What are you? Oh, another evil tower. Hello? Amethyst is useful, moss is useful too. After grabbing everything I needed from the bottom of that floating island, I continued heading north, which led me towards a dark tower, and I wasn't going in there alone. Get 'em, friends. I'm not gonna lie, I'm laughing recording the voiceover right now because just the visuals of me summoning a dozen zombies to just bully this skeleton juggernaut here into complete submission is hilarious. This is so funny. But I'm using all of my spells, trying to buff myself and my allies, running in to break down the spawners, but finding out my army's weakness. Stairs. Come on, friends, upstairs. Filter up. Oh my god. I tried my best to coax my team to work their way up the spiral staircase, but they kind of just weren't having it. And then I got poisoned. And you have to be careful in this structure, because if you click any of the dark stone blocks, you get jump scared and get mining fatigue, meaning that you're not gonna be able to break any of the spawners. But that can't stop me. I don't need to mine. I just need to summon more. I worked my way up through several different floors, figuring out that most of my army was stuck in the lobby, so I have an entourage, they just don't know how to use the elevator. But I also learned through taking on this tower that they have a shelf life. The summoned zombies and skeletons will inevitably just despawn. So it's not like I'm just summoning this army for forever, it's instanced-based. But since they can't use the stairs, I have to go up to each floor, throw down a fireball so that everything is burning, and while it burns, summon some friends. Heading up to the top floor was one of the summoners, which summoned these little baby demon devil skeletons, which actually did some decent damage, and that's a lot of D's in one sentence. We were eventually able to clear the floor, but not without me taking a ton of damage. Losing all of my absorption's hearts, going down to just one row, and realizing that it's less about my health and more about my armor's health that I should have been careful. Ooh, that was close. Chest plate broke. Oh my god, though. Alright, chest plate broke. Oh my god, and the helmet is not great.
These new mage robes are awesome. Having netherite infused with them made me unfairly think that they were also amazingly durable, but it's just one ingot and the rest of it's just cloth. So it makes sense that even just taking on one dungeon, one structure, my helmet was basically busted. So I thought at first that I needed to make an arcane anvil to be able to repair it. So I cut some deep slate, grabbed all of the amethyst that I had, and threw that down. But it turns out, not only do I not need the arcane anvil, I need a netherite ingot if I want to repair this thing, and that is pretty expensive. So instead, I repaired a couple of my other tools and had a visitor show up at the door.
Well, hello. What do you have for me? That's not worth it. Sorry, friend.
Heading down to the basement, I broke down some of the affixed loot that I had gotten from the previous dungeon, adding some of those gems onto my new vampiric sword so that I could get additional lifesteal and additional crit chance. This sword basically heals me now. But with that, I dashed away, heading towards one of the villages that I had abandoned some time ago, just trying to see if anybody still lived around here, if anybody had made it. I had found a few chests that I hadn't looted, and a few villagers that had succumbed to a zombie virus, so it is very clear that there might have been survivors here for a little while, but they aren't here anymore. That is until I found one surviving villager asleep in their bed. So I blocked off the door and closed them inside. Thankfully, they were also a librarian, so I could just start re-rolling on trades. I grabbed every lectern I could find from around the entire village in case they were bound to one outside of their house, dealt with zombies constantly aggravating me, slept in the bed of that villager, and then found a second wandering around somehow, just out and about. I blocked this one in their house as well, throwing down lectern, but they were extremely interested in wall. Wall was very interesting, and they only seemed to care about wall. Heading back over to my first villager instead, I had what was left of the village come try to attack me as the doors were broken. So I gotta be careful here. I used wool to block up the entrance, which is somehow more strong than a hardwood door, and then it's time to get to rolling.
Enemy drops. Ooh, that's actually really good. Wool received is doubled, but the shoe takes damage. Oh, that's a really fun enchant. But never instantly. Oh, that's so cool. Some of these enchants are just really cool. Oh my god, 5 on that. I wonder how high the life mending goes. So let's check. Oh, goes to 3. So we had the best possible version already. I'll take it. For 2, I'll take it. Sorry, my friend, you don't get windows anymore, but you will survive. So there is that. Let's get you all the light in the world that you could ever need. And now you will survive. Congratulations.
You are being rescued. Do not resist. But I dashed away from the village, seeing some interesting structures in the distance, maybe we'll visit that later, and working my way back towards the Pyromancer tower, where I landed on the roof for the very first time, where I'm seeing this pile of netherite armor in the corner. That feels ominous. I headed down into the actual structure itself as I had left some small supplies here, combining the life mending books and then putting that onto my helmet, doing a whole bunch of healing spells to get that thing fully repaired, as I can now have all of my excess mana and abilities just safely on my head and surviving. But it turns out I had left some valuables behind.
This just had mending on it. Oh, I'm an idiot.
I might be an idiot, but I'm an idiot who knows magic and also how to make some really cool potions. I did a little bit of work with the scrolls that I had left behind. I enchanted and combined a few bows. I just upgraded my gear off of the scraps of what was my original base, getting most of what I needed repaired and getting my helmet back up to full. Once it was daylight and I didn't have to worry about any other mobs, I went up to grab that piece of armor before heading out, and it attacked me. Free piece of netherite scrap? Sure, yes, I had to work for it for a bit, but basically free? I only did like 10% of the work as I let all of my minions do the rest. I dashed my way back north, heading towards home, finding another tower on the way, and it turns out there's some more magic users in this world.
I thought they'd be friendly. Okay, your funeral. Heck yeah. Oh my goodness. What we get? Icicle. Legendary. Did they just teleported out? I mean, that's a play. Cone of cold, frost. Level. I'm gonna have to come back. There's too much here.
Heading off from Elsa's tower, I made my way back over towards the Pillager tower that I call home, landing on the roof, dropping off all of the magic supplies on the top floor first before organizing my inventory from top down this time. I added a new gem to the new chestplate I had just gotten to add an additional 20% of health onto that.
Oh my god. And we haven't even enchanted it yet.
And after getting that enchanted, upgraded, and adding a second warlord gem to it, not even lifesteal can touch me, baby. Over 20 hearts. Now I understand why this pack was so dangerous in the beginning, was so punishing in the beginning, is because the power fantasy now of making it so far to become the thing that you were hiding from earlier on. Yeah, that feels good. I took all of my newfound power and magic heading out into the dark fields directly in front of me, mainly just to gain levels, as I want to be able to enchant all of this gear that I collected, but that requires being up at level 30. But running around with me and my minion horde, casting spells, slinging magic, fire, and poison at everything that I can see, I spent the entire evening just obliterating anything in my path. More.
That one has a column. This one's just holding a brick column. Oh my god. Let's go, lads.
I continued fighting throughout the entire night, just taking on enemies and enjoying myself, but realizing that while I might be powerful, I'm nowhere near invincible.
Ow, ow, ow. Get him, lads! Go! This is... Get him! No autographs! Oh my god! Lads, you've done well. Thank you all so much. I'll see you in the next life.
Dashing away so all my minions would despawn, I returned back over towards the Icicle tower, investigating all of the chests that I could find around here, and finding a secret one hidden behind a button on the top of the bookcase that I pressed like 3 times, got frustrated with, and then just broke the block. I picked up all of the ink, the essence, the spellcraft that I could find from around here, getting a few ice spells, which doesn't exactly fit with my blaze tome and my general vibe, but having as much magic from as many different schools of magic is definitely nice. I picked up a few extra dragon bones along the way because you never know what components you might need for additional spells along the road, summoning a whole bunch of minions and then summoning a diamond golem to allow them to fight, and that it looked so silly.
Get him, lads. Ooh, full block of diamonds. I'll take that.
Getting a full diamond block, I flew my way back home, mounting the dragon skull on the front of the fort, and now that looks intense. I evicted the people who were attempting to reclaim this structure. It's mine now. You can't have it back. It's mine. Dropped off all of the loot and then investigated whether or not I wanted to put those ice spells into my book. Spoiler, the answer was no. But I did use the legendary ink to finally fully upgrade my healing circle spell, meaning all of my healing spells were now at max tier. With that done, I used one of the soul lanterns that I had collected and a little bit of arcane essence to craft up a wayward compass, which points towards the final boss of this adventure. I spent the evening doing a little bit more fighting, just trying to get myself the last 2 levels to be able to do some enchanting on my gear, getting up to level 32 by the morning with a whole bunch of combat and being very mindful of the durability on all of my gear. Thankfully, at this point, it all has life mending. But you could say that it was a bit messy out front now. It's just, our arrows will blot out the sun. Up at level 30, I finally did some enchanting, first on the armor, and then getting a whole bunch of enchanted books, getting as many enchants as I could onto my chest plate before socketing in the gem that I've been saving for a while.
So now, if I do this, no, if I do this, 4, 2, 4, and 5. Oh, that's such a good chest plate. Oh my God.
With my arms, armor, and spellcraft handled, let's worry about my stomach a little bit. Doing some cooking and gardening out in front of the structure, grabbing everything that I could to make myself over a stack of barbecue on a stick. Between that and the dumplings, I'm gonna be a well-fed wizard. There were a few squatters up in the bedroom that I had to take care of. Just hearing their "Hurr" was really putting a dampener on all of my cooking skills. Finishing crafting all of my food and then thinking, you know what, let's go for broke. Making myself a quarter stack of golden apples for good measure. The next morning, I made myself a copy of the netherite upgrade template and then went and trimmed my armor with redstone to really fit the whole necromancer vibes I'm going for. Between the helmet and the little red stripes on the chest, it's looking awesome. But now fully decked out, I headed up to the little middle room that I hadn't really used for anything yet, set up a whole bunch of brewing stands, and we're gonna start working on getting some mana potions. I have a feeling that this final boss is gonna require a lot of magic to take down. So in order to do that, I wanna make myself instant mana potions. I dealt with some interruptions up on the upper level, finding one who was hiding inside the roof off the side of the tower. That was an interesting position to try to take me out from. But I used the arcane essence that I had, which I was able to brew into the potions to make at least level 1. Then you could add glowstone to upgrade them to level 2. Then you could add amethyst to upgrade them to level 3. By making these all splash, I could then have an entire backpack full of instant mana 3 potions. Heck yeah, that's awesome. And then I figured, while I'm at it, let's go full wizard, looking into the different spellcasting focuses that I could create for myself and making an artificer's cane, which when held in my offhand does 2 things. 1, it increases my spell power, and 2, it makes it so that you cast on right click. That will be important. Just stand by. I went down to the basement to add some affixes onto it, and then was reminded, oh yeah, you have to put in the materials to actually have that work, allowing a whole bunch of things to be possible, but I'm gonna need more runes. But that also allowed me to then finally remember that I can add those affixes to my helmet as well. So, I need levels in order to do that. Quite a few levels, actually. And the materials, which I have in base, so that won't be a problem. I headed out in front of the structure, took out 1 pillager with an army. That was potentially overkill. And then flew over towards the abandoned village that I had accidentally killed with the raid, heading in to check out the prismarine golem that was standing inside the structure right there. I cast a few spells at it and it just decided to not move until I went up and poked it instead, regenerating to full health and then immediately jumping out to bite me. I'm throwing spells in its direction while it was stuck inside of its structure at first, until it eventually broke out of the walls and dropped down onto the village below. And it hits pretty hard. Every one of its attacks is doing at least 4 or 5 hearts worth of damage. So I'm trying to maintain my distance a little bit here, throwing magic and using my army to be able to do a lot of the damage until it got stuck between 2 houses. It's a little bit too much of a wide boy. So I was able to go in and do a decent bit of stabbing, having my hearts taken down in the process, and eventually having the explosions that it trigger break the blocks around it to allow it to roam more freely. I kept dodging the explosive attacks, throwing my own explosive attacks their way, and eventually taking the golem down.
What the? So is this just a bonkers sword? I think it is. This is bedrock sword. Watch this. Yeah, it's just as fast as I can click. Oh, that's really powerful. But my main sword is super sick and it has the XP. 29% experience gained. All right, my army. Let's cause some havoc.
All right, let's cue the montage.
Get him! Oh my god.
And I finally, after 93 days, finally killed one of those sea monsters. I was still short a few levels of what I needed, so I just headed into the dark forest. Or should I say my army headed into the dark forest.
It's just a mob.
But along the way, I figured out that despite them being tethered to me, they're still zombies.
No, don't attack the villagers. Welp. Am I a baddie? I think I might be a baddie.
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, looking back, I've never heard of a lawful good necromancer, so that might be a bit of a problem. Maybe I am an evil wizard, who knows? But I flew over towards the second of the two villages that was close by. It was, unfortunately, also abandoned. Continuing along the coastline here, finally trying to pick up the treasure that was in that treasure map I grabbed like 90 days ago. Finding a little boat and some other problems along the way.
That's a sea monster. Oh my god.
You know the funniest thing to do is to bully things that live in the ocean by standing on land? All right, evolve, idiot. Grow some legs. You are no threat to me here. You have no power here. Oh wait, no, they could grow some legs. Oh wait, no, they grow some legs. I dashed over towards the pirate ship, broke the spawner, looted the chests, headed back over towards land, and flew just a tiny bit too close towards one of the mermaid stones, failing my wisdom save and getting charmed in that direction. And they have a lot of health at this point because of all of the scaling in the pack, so despite all of my awesome cosmic magical powers, it still took a little while to be able to take down just the 3 sirens here. In the crashed ship, which finally has a lore explanation to exist right here, there's a whole bunch of diamonds and other loot, so I picked that up, continuing to dash my way along, landing on a small sandbar, fighting my way through a skeleton in battle vestments, while digging down and picking up the treasure chest from a map that I had found at the very beginning of this journey. And just a funny detail, one of my soldiers has Frostwalker boots. So they were chasing mobs out into the ocean and drowning them. That's funny. I headed back over towards the villager that I had encased that had life mending 2 books, sending all of the emeralds I had collected from this adventure off to them to pick up my final couple books, landing back in the field directly in front of the house and doing a bit more fighting throughout the rest of the night to pick up whatever levels I could.
Whoa! Why did that fly so far? Oh my god, again. Why do they go flying?
Once I got home and dropped off all the loot, I headed down into the basement where I was able to combine the life mending books, but I wasn't able to put it on my chest plate. I was a few levels short. So instead, I just did a bit of organizing, trying to separate and get and recategorize all of the loot into the chests, so that way when you get the world download, this thing's a little bit more playable for you. Dealing with another group of looters who were attempting to reclaim this structure, and like I said, no, it's mine. Dashing up into the sky and heading north. Finding a tower with a really cool globe sitting on top. This is some kind of cartography area where I could go and find some really cool enchantments in the chests. Yo, that's really sick. So I got to the cartographer's house. Oh no. I need to stop holding it because it makes right click cast spells. Oh no. Well, at least they're not using it anymore. Endless quiver makes all arrows infinite. I mean, that's 6 levels. It's worth it. I feel bad. But I didn't feel bad enough to stop, so we have to keep heading north. Passing the dragon, I headed over a meadow with a winding road through it and a ton of sunflowers around, which contrasted amazingly with the zombies wearing plague masks and giant skeletons with hammers who were just kind of chilling in the middle of the field. I decided to just follow along the road and encountered what I can only assume is a D&D mini-boss just chilling there holding a giant cross. That's not ominous at all. Keeping an eye on the compass, which flipped around as I made my way up towards this mountain. And I gotta say, I kind of like this over Eyes of Ender. It always being on allows me to constantly just focus on what I'm doing, on combat, on flying, instead of having to stop, pull the parking brake, and throw another item. But focusing on that combat, I'm not sure I know my own strength. What the? How am I throwing mobs that far? I genuinely don't know. Is it the crit? But I got to the point that the compass was basically spinning around in a circle and started digging straight down. I know that's not normally fair, but I have an elytra, so fall damage can't really hurt me that badly. I kept working through multiple layers of stone, relying on the 1x3 tunnel, before getting to the point where I feel like I've lost track a little bit. The compass had kind of swayed in one direction, so I started digging across, making my way into the hallway of the catacombs, the final structure of the game. And this place was packed. There was dozens of zombies just chilling, waiting for me in the hall. I had to rely on multiple different fire spells. The only problem I have is that they were also triggering some kind of trap, which was shooting harming arrows, which, bad for me, healing for zombies, meaning that they were constantly healing despite all the damage that I was putting out. And there was a ton of spawners around here. There's a ton of spellcasters around here. So I'm not the only one summoning minions and throwing ice bolts. I'm having skeleton necromancers do that to me as well. So I just fought my way down one of the tunnels into one of the final rooms, broke as many spawners as I possibly could, threw down torches to light anything that I could, and threw a ton of junk into one of the barrels as I'm just trying to desperately secure a beachhead. Just one room of this place that I can keep safe. But there was a benefit to all of the fighting. I'd gained like 6 levels in the first little bit of combat, so I was able to put life mending on my chest plate, getting that repaired by throwing down a bunch of healing spells and finding a rotten spell book in one of the chests here, which I can upgrade with some deep dark materials to make myself the ultimate magical tome. And there's a ton to find in these crypts. Always. Oh, that is so good. I made my way back down the hallway that I had started at. Yes, I spent a full day just exploring one tunnel so far. And unfortunately, all the dispensers were now out of harming arrows. So despite getting that awesome enchant, which means I could shoot infinite harming 2 arrows, I didn't have one. This is where I'd put my weapons if I could. but a wave of zombies made their way down the hallway, which I had to throw down fire and retreat, as they have a lot of really good gear on here, and I have to fight my way from a retreating position, constantly healing myself, taking a bunch of damage, and having to dive up onto the ledge that I had started at just to be able to prevent myself from getting overwhelmed. This place is deadly, not just for the mobs that are spawning and constantly swarming, but for the fact that it's actively trying to kill you.
Oh, I have to be more careful in here.
I'm just trying to clear whatever hallways I can, throwing down torches everywhere to prevent mob spawning, dealing with a bunch of different rooms and spawners. The fact that I'm also summoning a zombie army does make it at times a little bit difficult to understand what's friend and what's foe. So I did have times where I'm like, oh, hey, and then a zombie comes up and stabs me in the face. Honestly though, this structure has everything that I wished that you could find in a vanilla Stronghold, and I actually think I kind of like this better than the better Strongholds mods I've used a couple different times. The rooms are a lot more different, they're a lot more dynamic, they're a lot more deadly, and the end game structure of the game feels like that's what it should really be. I kept working my way through, around, down, up, and over all of the different intertwining paths, finding a bunch of different spawners hidden behind bookcases, under gravel, inside of walls, and a whole bunch of magical supplies and attunement materials just waiting to be looted. When I finally got back to the central crossroads of the area, I started working my way down the next to last tunnel, getting once again somewhat overwhelmed by mobs, getting over half my health obliterated pretty quickly before being able to fall back, resummon my army, and throw down some awesome damage over time spells to be able to clear this place out. And I finally figured out what was making the mobs yeet themselves away from me.
Oh, it's the rebounding. Oh my god, that's an awesome button. It's the rebounding. It's the enchantment that's throwing them off. It just makes sense now.
Making my way through the rest of the structure, I cleared the final set of rooms, headed down the last spiral staircase, and made my way towards the main chamber of the arena, throwing down a bunch of torches so that I could see what I was doing. Then it's time to go.
All right, everybody. Summon some more friends. Buff everybody. This seems like a final boss. Get him! More! Push him in the wall. Kill him. Where'd he go? Yes! Yes! Yes, my arm. Look at the arrows. Oh my god. You have all done so well. You've done well. And now, I am the Skeleton King. Wait, hold on. Spellcasting the Bloodstaff of the Storm. Summon damage. Blood spell power, mana regen spell power. Plus slots. Oh, that's really good. I can't believe that worked. That went so well. So now my summons are gonna be even stronger. That's wonderful. What's back here? Oh, that's a god apple. Starfall. An ancient knowledge fragment. This one's about to lightning bolt. I'm gonna keep it because you never know if that's useful. With the dead king finally, well, dead again, I finished looting out the final couple rooms, clearing out the final spawners, grabbing the final bit from each of the chests, and filling my pockets with the spoils of war. With that done, I headed up towards my tunnel, threw my elytra on, and threaded the needle, flying all the way up and over back towards my tower. And armed with the Dead King's staff, my spells are even more powerful. So maybe, just maybe, the pillagers will finally get the message that this place belongs to me. I emptied my pockets, stashed away the magical supplies for a future adventure, added some affixes onto my chest plate just to end this thing as powerful as I possibly could be. And with 25 hearts, magical power beyond comprehension, and the ultimate spell, I headed out for one final cast. Oh, that is so powerful. I have become death. With that, I set myself to rest, awakening in the morning on day 100 and the end of this adventure. Look at us, more than 2 rows of hearts, power over the arcane and cosmic, the ability to rain hell on our enemies. How far we've come from hiding in a hole because the zombies were scary, right? And we even got a tower. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one where we return to a place for the very first time. Be good to each other, everyone. Bye-bye.